Sometimes the riot is a quiet one. Well, the battle is to love yourself and function in society where voices of reason are muted by anxiety, like gaining notoriety is selling your soul. So we tend to go no deeper than the shallow water level, trying to keep us overhead in the face of all the slurs and the stares. Mentally frozen, paralyzed by fear of failure and success. So we lock, stock, barrel, running while it's crumbling. All these towers and that babbling, but the baby's in the bath and the stash under the bed on my head, spinning from the circles and the puppets and the strings that they pull. Then we move. Reactionary warfare never produces when it's on the field. Feeble and foolish. What tools and what weapons are we using? We need some new ones. Real revolution. It's real solutions. Well, we've taken on the ways of the ones who conquer with their guns and religion and division. Got my inner me looking like my enemy. Real revolution. Well, my inner me, really a mirror for the galaxy. New time, brand new paradigms, new contracts to sign. They thought that this would all be televised, though it's happening right before our very eyes. It's on the inside, with their guns cocked. When that rock drops, standing on the rooftop, praying that the mountaintop can live inside the valley. People tell me the reward is somewhere off in heaven, like heaven's only in the sky. A chariot's a swinging, like God is something separate from yourself, from your wealth, from your lover, from your neighbor. Oh, your savior is coming in your own name, coming with the face the same. Real revolution. It's real solutions. Well, we've taken on the ways of the ones who conquer with their guns and religion and division. Got my inner me looking like my enemy. Real revolution. Where my enemy is really a mirror for the galaxy. And so we lock, stock, barrel, running while it's crumbling. All these towers and they're babbling, but the baby's in the bath and the stash under the bed. Oh, my head spinning from the circles and the puppets and the strings they pull. Then we move. Reactionary warfare never produces winners on the field. Feeble and foolish. What tools and what weapons are we using? We need some new ones. It's real revolution. Producing real solutions. Because we've taken on the ways of the ones who conquer with their guns and religion and division. Real revolution. Where my enemy is really a mirror for the galaxy. Ancestor, ancestor, take my hand, ancestor, lead me on, ancestor, let me stand, ancestor, I get tired, ancestor, I get weak, my nose I get warm, ancestor, through the storm, ancestor, through the night, ancestor, lead me on, ancestor, through the light, ancestor, take my hand, ancestors, and lead me on. In my way grows drift. Ancestors, please linger near. When my life is almost gone, hear my cry. my hand, lest I fall. Take my hand, ancestors, and lead me on. Hear my cry, hear my call. Take my hand, lest I fall. Take my hand, ancestors, and lead me on.
Familo Wosoke, Kinlik Belga. I am that which walks with you through the torrential rains of life without getting wet. I am that which walks with you through the firestorm within, yet fire cannot burn me. I am that which walks with you through the winds of transformation, yet cannot be uprooted. I am the memory whose shoulders you stand on when feet plant on earth. I am the head that came before a book. I am the you in that mirror that you look. Say my name. I am ancestor. I am a Gungun. Ashe.
Mojuba, Egun, Mojuba, Egun, Mojuba, Egun, Mojuba. Hear my cry, hear my call. Take my hand, lest I fall. Take my hand, ancestors, and lead me on. Ancestor, you are breath, you are bridge. You carry us over tumultuous time. You who can hear and answer with quick remedy, you are ready before we ask. You who can speak through tongues of trees and fire and water, this earth cannot hold you. We pound the ground and you appear, O ancient ones. You who can make lightning strike with the flick of a skirt. You who can make tornado turn with the spin and span of hips, take us there. To the place of knowing, to the hall that leads to the doorway of you, O holy ones. You of the first light. You who know the potential of possibility pulsing in the dark, deliver us unto our gifts. You who have sunlight in your fingertips, oh touch our drums. Make us hear the rising. Make us move a steady stump. A choir of voices so majestic. Heaven hides us in a tapestry of light, oh we are stars. Blankets of wonder. Sky bright eyes seeing the invisible, visible. You who have returned. You have turned our faces so that we see ourselves. And we have found you again in places we would have never imagined. You make our limits infinitely long, our visions clearer with eyes closed, and even there, you still stand in full color, vibrant and eager to serve. Hear my cry, hear my call, take my hand, lest I fall, take my hand, ancestors, and lead me on. Lead me on. And lead me on. And lead me on. And lead me on.
Dijeron negro y todos me señalaron. Dijeron igualdad, pero esta vez me separaron. Dijeron mucho, pero no se olvidaron de callarse. Cuánto odio por mi piel sembraron. Dijeron historia y la tergiversaron. Dijeron guerra, muerte, odio y nos culparon. Enfermedades, epidemias nos contagiaron. Exterminación de mi fauna complace a tus mercados. Dijeron riqueza y todos se lo robaron. Oro, platino, diamante, a la fuerza se lo llevaron. Y la actualidad es tan triste que todo aquello que dijeron es lo mismo que hoy se dice más. ¿Quién dice, quién explota, quién se beneficia? El asesino, el mismo que da las noticias. Hay una cuenta fácil que siempre me da las grandes riquezas, de dónde vienen y hacia dónde van.
Independiente como los Mao Mao, concluyente como los Mao Mao,
como los Mao Mao,
como los Mao Mao. Somos resistentes como los Mao Mao,
yeah.
Independiente como los Mao Mao,
sí.
Concluyente como los Mao Mao,
como los Mao Mao,
como los Mao Mao. Somos resistentes como los Mao Mao. Nati Dre es afroresistencia, cultura ancestral, afrodescendencia, solidaridad. Esa es la esencia, la diáspora africana eleva la conciencia, conciencia negra, universal, progresista y transcultural. Negros y mestizos revolucionando, pueblos caribeños y africanos en un solo bando. No más explotación, colonialismo interno, no más confusión, supremacía blanca en el Babilón. Soy rojo, negro y verde, afroliberación. Mientras más negro, más represión. Somos creadores, recupera tu visión. Mi misión es educar con amor, contra el silencio, vivo sin temor. Independiente como los Mao Mao, concluyente como los Mao Mao,
como los Mao Mao,
como los Mao Mao. Somos resistentes como los Mao Mao,
yeah.
Independiente como los Mao Mao,
sí.
Concluyente como los Mao Mao,
como los Mao Mao,
como los Mao Mao. Somos resistentes como los Mao Mao.
What's happening, good people? It is the Rise Up Morning Show. I am Kalonji Changa alongside Brother Isaac. I know some of y'all are like, y'all starting the show late. We had to, today is the day, less than 12 hours. Marcellus Williams is scheduled to be executed. It is, it's like when you go to the store, to the grocery store, and one of the things you do besides look at the ingredients, look at the prices, you look at the expiration date. They give you a time that they say it's best by. You can consume this, you get the best taste, the best flavor, the most nutrition, by this particular date. State of Missouri, St. Louis to be exact. Missouri, place where we remember the quote-unquote Ferguson uprisings 10 years ago. Many of us was there for that particular conundrum when Mike Brown was murdered in the streets and left in the streets for a number of hours like roadkill. He laid in the streets like roadkill in the neighborhood. 17-year-old, 18-year-old youngster gunned down in the streets. That was in Ferguson, not far from St. Louis. Many of you remember a couple years ago, almost 2 years, I believe, can't quite keep time with these atrocities. But you remember, I believe it was about 2 years ago, state of Missouri, St. Louis, executed, murdered, however you want to describe it, Kevin Johnson. Kevin Johnson was on our show 2 weeks before he was executed. Dr. Joy James and I did a special piece where we had the world listen to Kevin Johnson's voice. I believe it was either 2 or 3 weeks. And we knew that there was a chance that that he would be dead in a couple weeks. He was a father, grandfather, much like his brother who's scheduled to be executed today. I am disgusted. I would not call this our country because I keep hearing people talk about, in our country, this ain't my fucking country. You say that as polite as possible. Folks who have their children listening and elders and whatnot, excuse me, but to sit here, and I wasn't even gonna come on here today. You just say that. That's how pissed I am because of the fact that here, while they are committing genocide across the globe, genocide is going on in Gaza, and genocide is going on in Sudan, and genocide is going on in Haiti, and genocide is going on in the streets of Chicago, and genocide is going on in the streets of New York and Atlanta, and so on and so forth. While we're in the streets talking about cop cities, while the military-industrial complex is taking over the planet literally with damn near 1,000 military bases in places that you can't even pronounce. They're scheduling an execution of 55-year-old Khalifa Williams, a man who is a couple years older than me, who they intend on doing what the Nazis did in Nazi Germany between 1939 and 1945, when they had a so-called euthanasia, where Hitler and his doctors authorized and sanctioned the murders of 275,000 or 300,000, according to their numbers, Jewish folks. These same people later on, who were many of their descendants of those who were executed and now executing other people in Palestine. Some may say, well, what is the connection? The connection is hegemony. The connection is imperialism. The connection is white supremacy. The connection is domination. Many of you are running around, but not nobody say nothing about Kamala Harris, black women, better than what's this guy named Trump.
Hey, Kalanji, your mic is fading out.
Yeah, can you hear me now?
We can hear you now, yeah.
Some folks saying, you can't say nothing. What does she have to do with it? She can't, that's not her job. She can't say anything. I vote for the lesser two evils, all that craziness. That sounds great. I'd rather get stabbed than shot, whatever. That's what it sounds like to me, But there are people who are silent right now. And I'm saying that, and I'm not just saying her. Of course, you're not expecting Trump to say shit. But there are people who are silent, and we make excuses for them. But in less than a couple months, in about a month, there'll be an election in the United States. And I ask you, what are you expecting from these people? I'll tell you what I'm expecting. I'm expecting more war. I'm expecting more genocide. I'm expecting more executions of people, regardless of the lack of evidence, regardless of the lack of DNA and tampered with, and evidence that was quote unquote tampered with. The more executions of folks who can take the word of a jailhouse snitch, a known liar, and then say, well, he testified. But you can't testify on your own behalf because of the fact that, they don't really give a fuck. Governor with his white ass, notorious racist. Once again, thinking back 2 years ago with the situation with Kevin Johnson in St. Louis, when folks were hopeful because there was going to be a hearing 24 hours before the scheduled execution. And as we listened to that hearing, it was like, basically let's get it over with. We don't care what you're coming to say. We already planning on countering, and this is just the business. Anyway, I'm sorry. This is my early morning rant.
You're all good. You're speaking facts, man.
Yeah, man. This
Speaking
is
facts.
it really jacks me up to sit here knowing
Yeah.
that this man has less than 12 hours right now. Right now, he has about shit. I mean, 10 hours and some change right now.
That's to the average person lives under the occupation. That's the average work day.
Absolutely.
Those are average work hours.
It's business as usual.
And one thing that you said earlier, but my mic was off, and I'm glad my mic was off because you were able to expand on what you were saying. This is not a country. This is an occupation. The same way we look at Palestine, the same way we look at what's going on in Africa, the neocolonialism that's there. We have to understand that America is an occupation and there is neocolonialism that runs rampant here, which is why you have individuals, you have brothers and sisters that are advocating for the euthanization of this brother without even realizing that that's an aesthetic, that's an action, that's a thought process that comes with conforming to a system that tells you that this shit is normal. Like how you said, these are things that Nazis did,
right,
and they're doing to our people, still doing. Yep. And it's not just that, it's a multitude of things that they do to demonize us. So yeah, I think your camera froze, Kalanji. It might either it's me or it's you, but I think.
Can you see me? Might have some connection problems. How am I doing now?
Still frozen. I could hear you, but still frozen.
Okay. Well, I may take myself off camera for a second. Do I sound any better now?
It still sound the same. Still sounds good.
Okay.
See if you can put your camera back on. See if it
Yeah. Let's see here. Okay. We'll see how it's going. I might have some connection issues right now. But yeah, indeed. This is, as Imam Jamil Al-Amin, formerly H. Rap Brown, would say, this is what comes with war. And this is just that. And make no mistake about it. Again, folks look at this thing like it's a trending topic. I'm grateful to see a number of people stepping up. I have no criticism for that. I had the opportunity to see a number of different artists and activists and freedom fighters, make efforts. Bunchy Carter, Black Panther Party, said, if you can't do nothing but spit, then motherfucker spit. And it's important because we all have a role to play. We all have, there's no neutrals in war, as my comrade would say. I look at the state of us right now and just all the things that have our attention. You know what I mean? From Puffy to Kamala to, what Janet Jackson said, bullshit. You know what I'm saying? We get caught up in this cycle. And we get caught up in the propaganda. We get caught up in internet beef. You know what I'm saying? We get caught up in nonsense. And it's a war going on. A war against the black and the poor. And it saddens me because I'm just like, man, as a song would go all around the world, same song, man. It's repeat. We stuck on repeat right now. You know what I'm saying? And that is just what it is. Shout out to all the supporters here at Black Power Media. If this is your first time checking in, go to Black Power Media Reloaded on YouTube. Black Power Media Reloaded on YouTube. Excuse me. And I want to point out for clarity, again, no, we did not change the name. This is Black Power Media right here. So I'm just going to say that because people keep asking me, whatever anyone else is doing, then that's great. No qualms on that. But this is Black Power Media right here. Black Power Media Reloaded on YouTube. Go to blackpowermedia.org for the website. Make sure that you subscribe. We have a new issue of our magazine, Afro Pick, which will drop tomorrow, Wednesday, the 25th. So make sure you check out the new issue, the latest issue of Afro Pick. We'll tell you how to get that tomorrow. We'll drop it after tomorrow's show. I think we should go to a quick spin-off, quick Black Power break, Isaac. I'm sorry if I kind of took over the mic this morning, but I'm kind of hot.
No, it's valid. It's valid. I woke up with the same feelings, the same understanding. A man literally has less than 12 hours to live and is innocent. The state has found him innocent. Lawyers have found him innocent. And back to Parsons just before we go to break. This is a man, like you said, he's a fucking racist. Most importantly, this man wasn't going to offer, any type of clemency whatsoever. This is an individual that has executed 11 individuals before his 12th. So we have to classify that as nothing more than an individual that is a serial killer. He is a serial killer.
Right.
So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you're absolutely correct. And I want to point out too, there'll be 2 people being executed today. There'll be another person in the state of Texas. I don't have information on that particular individual, but again, this is, it's the meat market around here. You ship them around like cattle in the prison systems, and when you want to get that you get that bloodthirst in your mouth, you're ready to eat that beef, then you go ahead and slaughter them. That's what's going on here. You got these cattle that you fatten up and you take them to the slaughter. And that's what's going on in the straight slaughterhouse. Anyway, you're checking out Black Power Media. This is the Rise Up International Morning Show. It's the place that you get that news, that information, and it's unadulterated. Stay tuned, share, like, subscribe, and all that type stuff. Probably ain't gonna get a lot of views on this right here because we ain't talking about no bullshit. We talking about the real shit. So anyway, Black Power Media Reloaded. We'll be back at you. Let's go.
Africa, think about it for a second, I'll get back at you.
I think one of the most interesting developments around the candidacy of Barack Obama for the nomination of the Democratic Party as candidate for the U.S. president is the response that we're seeing coming from many Africans who are considered nationalist and Pan-Africanist, and some of whom are even involved in organizations that consider themselves for pro-independence. They talk about achieving an independent state for African people here in the United States. And what makes it really interesting is because they are really quibbling on this question. On the one hand, we see on the internet, on one of the popular listservs, this ongoing discussion. I've seen actually one indication from such a person that raises the possibility that, quote unquote, race is no longer a main issue, a primary issue, a big issue in American political life anymore, as evidenced by Barack Obama's success. From others, we've seen a serious kind of quibbling where folk are now raising the issue of actually criticizing U.S. imperialism and saying that it's a terrible instrument of oppression and genocide, et cetera, and slavery and colonialism. And they know what the system is about, and they know, they say, that there's great likelihood that Obama can't do anything different than what the system will allow on the one hand, but on the other hand, they talk about supporting him anyhow. They say simple-minded things like because of his, what they characterize as Africanity, or I saw one person saying that they're going to vote for him because of the symbolism. And one discussion we saw, it was from an African group based in the United States of Haitian-born activists who were saying that they know that there's a great likelihood that he's going to be like a neo-colonial puppet that they see actually in Haiti. But the question, they say, is what else is there? And I think this is the real issue that most of these nationalists are confronted with. I mean, because it's almost as if though they're playing with politics. Either they actually believe that African people can have and should have independence from U.S. imperial white power here and around the world. Either they do believe that the future of African people is as a united and liberated people, and that how fundamental it is for Africa itself to be freed. Either they believe that the U.S. government is an illegitimate entity that imposes its will at gunpoint on African people here in this country, and that it is the primary basis for all of the poverty, all of the injustices, for the nooses being hung, for the police violence against our community. Either they believe these things or they don't. And if they believe these things, then it seems to me that the question of what else is there is really an easy one to answer. What else is there is a struggle for our own power to replace this illegitimate power that is represented by both the Republicans and the Democratic Party, regardless of whether it's in the form of Hillary Clinton or McCain or Barack Obama. It doesn't make any difference. Both of these are illegitimate institutions, both of which share in controlling the colonial state power that's responsible for our oppression and the misery of our people, as well as the misery of the peoples around the world. I think that it is a telling statement that to have nationalists and so-called radical activists in this place of where they are in a quandary as to whether or not it is legitimate somehow for them to be supporting Barack Obama, and not saying that they recognize, particularly at a time like this in such crisis, that Barack Obama is important to white power imperialism, to lead African people out of independent political life and carry us into the safe embrace of an imperialist organization like the Democratic Party. So what we are suggesting is that we have to stop trying to find these quick and easy fixes to our problem and assume responsibility for our own liberation. This is not against Barack Obama as an individual or as a person. It is the fact that we as Africans, and especially those of us who have assumed responsibility to lead our people, must then call on people to reject both the Democrat and the Republican Party and to join revolutionary organizations with the objective of overturning the social system. I heard all of the arguments, yeah, that's going to happen down the line, but right now, that's what we usually hear. Right now, what we have to do is start. And every year, every 4 years, we go through this process of, oh, God, please let a good white man get elected. Now let a good white woman or a good Negro get elected. But the consequences are the same. We don't have power over our own lives. And so what we call for in the African People's Socialist Party is for Africans everywhere to be organized, either in the African People's Socialist Party or the African Socialist International, so that we can make revolutionary transformation and seize power over our own lives. That way we have real power, we have nappy-headed power, we have big lip power, we have broad-nosed boombox on your shoulder power that belongs to us and doesn't make it necessary for us to kowtow or kiss the feet of any other force for fear that we might offend them when we speak into our own interests. We have to be able to fight for our own interests. Our people will not have a future unless we do. Join the African People's Socialist Party. Join the African Socialist International. Assume the responsibility of liberating and uniting Africa and African people worldwide. No compromise, no surrender.
What's happening, good people? That was Chairman Omali Yeshitela from the Uhuru movement. Shout out to them. We know that he just had, he's going through legal situations himself. We know that some of the charges was dropped in regards to his case as far as working with Russians, quote unquote. Now, I think they still have conspiracy charges, whatever. So, but to his point, you know, he talked about Barack Obama. Many of you was jumping out your shoes and socks to run, go vote for him. You know what I'm saying? Many folks talked about, what a great man he was going to be. In fact, I recall him getting a Nobel Peace Prize early in the, pretty much around the time he was elected. And, of course, he declared war a few weeks later. But, it always bugged me out, just this particular narrative, especially living in Atlanta, where Atlanta is a quote unquote black city. I think that folks are more impressed about black politicians outside of here because of the fact that, as Comrade DeRuba would say, the slaves run the plantation here. So, you get used to getting bust upside your head by people that look like you. I want to point out, too, because people always talk about the whole who won the Nobel Peace Prize. Again, I might have mentioned on the show before that Alfred Nobel was also the inventor of dynamite. So he's a cat who was ruthless himself, and he didn't create dynamite to help humanity, but to destroy. And later on, he came up with this Nobel Peace Prize to throw you off, so you forget about the other side. You forget about the fact that that like all warmongers, they'll bring you death, destruction, so on and so forth, and then they'll give you a gold medal or a rock or a piece of silver or something like that to make you feel like you've achieved something, make you feel like you've advanced in society. But that's just the way of the world. Anyway, Isaac, similarities between what Chairman O'Malley was saying then and now. He talked about Obama. Of course, we got Kamala running. Of course, she's already in office. She's been in office, but we act like something brand new. But okay, cool. We ain't tripping. What's your thoughts on what the man was saying?
It speaks prevalent to today. When we look at Barack Obama, let me just put this in a more simplistic facet. When we look at any black face in a high place, they are there to serve and to suit the needs of not the people, but of the individuals that pay, that give them that hush money, that give them that said script to say, hey, you're going to talk about what we want you to talk about, not what you think. You might have told these people you're going to give them free food, you can give them this, you're going to give them that, but that's not a part of our agenda. See, what you did good was, in our eyes, is you manipulated the masses, which is why you're here today.
Right.
Right. So all I see with those words is everything that's going on. It's the same shit that's going on. Same play-by-play.
Word.
Kamala Harris coming in, inserting herself, acting like she won some shit. She didn't win a fucking thing. She didn't earn anything. From my recollection, I heard Montel Williams talking about Kamala Harris. She can be the next president of the United States. Said that shit almost 20 years ago.
Right.
So again, for me, this is scripted.
Yeah.
This is like the fucking Super Bowl to me. I already know who's going to be in the Super Bowl this year. It's probably going to be the Chiefs. The way everything's playing out. But
right here.
One thing that spoke words and will always speak words to me is that while we can primarily address that this is the same shit that's going on now is the same shit that was going on then, we also have to understand, well, what are we going to do? How are we going to put ourselves in a position to not be manipulated like we are every 4 years into believing, whether it's a white man, a white woman, a black man, a black woman, an indigenous man, an indigenous woman, whoever they may be, we have to understand that they serve the needs and the interests of that said occupation.
Right.
They don't serve the needs of the people, because if they serve the needs of the people, they would understand that electoral politics is nothing more than a concession.
Right.
They would understand that. So, the words speak very clearly to me, and it speaks wonders even more now because we have individuals that again want to use their vote and say, "Hey, I'm voting for her because she's an African American woman," not knowing the track record that she has in that said community.
Right.
The daughter that had sickle cell anemia came out and said, "I will not be supporting Kamala because I know what she's about, and you will not weaponize my gender or my culture so that you could get a vote." Again, that's white. That's white. White hegemony with a black face on it. That's all it is.
When you talk about,
and one person said something on Twitter that I seen that spoke wonders. This is weaponized a form of like weaponized feminism. At the same time, it's like they're manipulating so many groups of individuals into believing, that this is something like that. The fact that she has not one, not two, not three, but four accents, y'all, that y'all could look up right now. It's wild, but it speaks wonders to me. To answer your question, it speaks to what's going on today, and I wish we could get to that position, and I think we are in some capacities. There are organizations out there that are building for what the Uhuru movement is building. That they're continuing even while being targeted. So I say the same thing that the chairman would say: is you go and you find that revolutionary organization that's not wanting to align with electoral politics, that's not wanting to integrate into a burning house, as Malcolm X would say.
Yeah. You're checking out Black Power Media again, the Rise Up Morning Show. I keep saying Black Power Media, almost forgetting that we're on the Rise Up right now. A few different shows coming up this week. Tomorrow, of course, Professor Griff, Arm the Masses, every Wednesday at noon. We have a new show dealing with political prisoners. Excuse me. It will pop off tomorrow at 1 p.m. I don't have the title in front of me. Forgive me. My head is kind of, feeling away about this whole Khalifa piece. We have a number of different shows coming up this week. Also tomorrow night, we'll be diving back into the whole situation with the whole RICO charges with Young Thug and YSL. We'll be hopping back on that tomorrow night. So make sure you tune in. Of course, the Rise Up Morning Show. We have a number of guests coming up this week. I don't know if I should name tomorrow's guests. I might just hold off on that. We have a rather controversial fella be coming on tomorrow on the Rise Up Morning Show. So make sure you all tune in for that. I don't want to let the cat out the bag yet. But again,
I'll let a cat out the bag for everybody. Prince Shakur will be on Black Power Media pretty soon. I'm working on a date, trying to respect the fact that my comrade is working but also traveling. So yeah, just wanted to put that out there. Prince Shakur wrote an author of When They Tell You to Be Good, runs his own YouTube channel. Super dope. Had multiple conversations with him, private and public. And so yeah, stay tuned for that. We're gonna be getting into Billy Porter, trying to co-opt the legacy of James Baldwin, and in a bigger conversation, how celebrities as a whole, how Hollywood as a whole manipulates, and as James Baldwin would classify, is they work in reciprocity to enact what would be a second assassinations against some of our most brightest individuals that are no longer here, by portraying them in a negative manner or manipulating or distorting their history, or don't even speak about them at all in the likes of, which is good because I'm kind of glad that they haven't touched Ture. But like the likes of Kwame Ture, they completely erase them from history in the media limelight. So I just had to throw that out there. Sorry.
Yeah, no, and I want to correct you on one thing. They didn't completely erase them. They completely erased them in their system. You know what I'm saying? They can't, you can't erase a revolutionary from revolution. You can't erase, from our minds. And that's why, and it's not a knock on what you're saying, but this is why we're here today to remind folks of people who we need to know. You know what I mean? When we talk about Khalifa Williams, no, I'm not calling him a revolutionary. Don't get it twisted. I don't know him like that. I don't know his piece like that, so I won't compare him. But I say that the same scheduled execution that he has is what they did with Che Guevara. You know what I'm saying? They executed him. They scheduled the execution for him, and he chopped his hands off. It's the same execution that they scheduled for Patrice Lumumba. They executed him in front of a firing squad. They chopped him to bits and pieces like Heru, and they dipped him in a bath of acid to get rid of his body.
You want to go into further context, Nat Turner. A lot of people don't know the true history of what they did with Nat Turner's body. He wasn't just lynched.
So just so many other ancestors who were executed, by the state. And we can take that to Malcolm, Martin, whoever else, it is what it is. But the thing is that this system of aggression, this system of violence that transcends all these invisible borders and boundaries. Because we get it twisted and we say, oh, that's the US or is this. It's all these motherfuckers in cahoots. You know what I mean? It's talking about, when we're talking about global white domination, this is what we're dealing with here. You know what I mean? So I want to talk a little bit more about Khalifa. We may have some guests coming on to discuss them, but I am, like I said, it's just, it's one of those rare moments where we have to remind folks of where we are. This is something on him. Of course, it says Missouri is pushing forward to execute Marcellus Khalifa Williams today. Today, it is 9 a.m. Eastern. So right now, probably in about a good 8 hours, they're looking to execute this man. 8 hours, 10 hours, somewhere around 8 hours, I believe. Missouri is scheduled to execute him. In 2016, post-conviction DNA testing concluded that Khalifa is innocent. Zero physical evidence, fingerprints, hair, or DNA, none of that pointed to Marcellus Williams. The state's case against Khalifa was based on the unreliable testimony of two incentivized witnesses. It says what innocence looks like. St. Louis County Prosecutor's Office has filed a motion to reopen the case as they have investigated and concluded that Khalifa is innocent. We know that that's not happening. No court has reviewed the exculpatory DNA evidence. Instead, the state continues to use dirty tactics and legal procedures to keep Khalifa unjustly incarcerated on death row. The state's case relied based entirely upon the unreliable testimony of two incentivized witnesses, as I mentioned. And we mentioned that no scientific or eyewitness evidence or motive connects Mr. Williams. Again, this case here, 13 years ago, 13 years ago, we worked on a case here in Georgia. Some of you in the chat, remember it. It was a case of Troy Anthony Davis. And it's so similar, as far as how the state refused to look at the facts. And the facts were there was, quote unquote, 9 witnesses, 7 recanted their statements. The 8th witness said that the shooter was right-handed, I believe, and Troy was left-handed. And the ninth witness, quote unquote, witness was a cat by the name of Sylvester Coles. And that's who folks believe actually shot and killed the particular officer that Troy was executed for. No scientific evidence, no physical evidence, nothing. No DNA, nothing pointing him to that murder. But the state executed him anyway. Many of us worked on that case for years. Literally, today is the 24th. His execution took place 13 years ago in 3 days. 13 years ago in 3 days, and I remember it like it was today, not yesterday. You know, so we sat and we watched this helplessly. And like this case right here, over 1 million signatures was signed from petitions. In fact, there's news footage of myself and others walking boxes of petitions into one of the state offices. We tried everything we possibly could. Yeah, there was a letter from the Pope. Bishop Desmond Tutu got involved. You know what I'm saying? The former head of the FBI, William Sessions, got involved. You know, and you know, he was saying that it should, you know, these folks said that they believed that Troy was innocent. We had everybody from the Goo Goo Dolls to folks from Law and Order, believe it or not, getting involved. You know,
You guys had special victims unit involved? No, I'm just
yeah, I mean, shit. They had a special victims unit involved, but the real victim was Troy. That's who the real victim was. You know, so you know, like Troy, and it's funny. I believe the witness in this particular case, last name is Coles. So you know, so once again, you know, this case is like a rewind from 2011. And as I pointed out previously, some of you know that year we watched his mother die, we watched him executed, and later that year his sister Martina Correa transitioned as well. So they lost 3 of their immediate family members in 1 year. And we traveled up and down that road. There's 3 funerals that I attended, same church, same preacher, same song. The last funeral, Martina, I was actually a pallbearer. So it touches because, you know, again, I would speak to Troy, you know, often, and I would move around and organize with the family, with the organization, so on and so forth. And we tried everything we possibly could. And the state told us to go ourselves. And that's what the state is saying today with this particular situation. Yes, so again, the call is the Free Khalifa. You know, whatever you can do, we can pray, we can, you know, scream, shout down the walls of Jericho, but the main thing is we have to get organized. Organization is a must. Organization is a must. And in order for us to be victorious, we're gonna have to do more than just talk about how it's a damn shame. Isaac, I think we gotta go to one more break, my man, because I'm feeling kind of you know, I might say some things that get us banned for life.
In the words of TLC, it's just one of those days.
This cat right here quoting TLC. Since you talk about TLC, I feel more like Left Eye, for like burning something.
burn like
anyway, no doubt. You're checking out the Rise Up Morning Show. This is Black Power Media. We'll be back. We'll be right back with you. Probably bring a guest on. Stick around. You know we go around here. Black Power Media Reloaded. Let's go.
Jew who supports Zionism, if you're a non-Jew Zionist, then my question would be, why do you hate Jews so much? Or why do you support the hatred of Jews? Why do you promote the hatred of Jews? Why don't you work against the hatred of Jews? Because there's nothing more anti-Semitic, there's nothing more anti-Jew than Zionism, especially among non-Jews. Because the whole basis of Zionism is the idea that Jews aren't safe in any country in the world, and therefore they need a Jewish homeland. They need a Jewish state, because that's the only place that they can be safe from you. So if you say that you support Jews having a homeland, you are implicitly saying Jews aren't safe with you. Jews aren't safe in your country. That's implicitly what you're saying. Your support for Jews, or your love for Jews, is not love for Jews, it's love for Jews to be elsewhere. You're saying implicitly, when you say that you support the state of Israel, and you support the Jews having a Jewish homeland, and you declare your support for Zionism, you're declaring your hatred for Jews. You're declaring that, yes, Jews are not safe in my country. Jews are not safe from me and my friends and my community and the citizenry of my country. Because that's why they need to be elsewhere, because we can't be trusted. So either you should be offended by the fundamental claim of Zionism. You should be offended by that. And if you're not offended by it, then it's because it's true and the Jews are not safe with you. Because if you had any, if you were a decent human being who didn't hate Jewish people, then the claim that the Jews can't be safe in your country would be offensive to you. And that the Jews aren't safe anywhere in the world would be offensive to you, because it's an insult. It's an insult to your whole society to say that the Jews can't be safe with you and therefore they need to be somewhere else. But you see, the thing is, like I've said before, it's true. You do hate Jews. The West has always hated Jews. Jews have never been safe in the West. And after the Holocaust, after the anti-Jewish sentiment across Europe that's been going on for centuries, after that reached a crescendo with the Holocaust, you just figured out another way, a more sophisticated way to make life miserable for the Jews. You figured out another way to keep the Jews in danger and insecurity. And you figured out a way, this is remarkable, you figured out a way to make the only people in history who didn't hate and persecute them, hate them. Because the Muslims never hated the Jews. The Muslims didn't persecute the Jews. The Jews were safe with the Muslims. But you found a way to make endless animosity, unending animosity between the Muslims and the Jews, between the Arabs and the Jews, by turning what should have been immigration into colonization. Because the Jews were always safe and free to emigrate to Palestine. And they did. Where do you think they went when you kicked them out of Spain? They went to the Ottoman Empire. Many of them went to Palestine. And they were welcomed there and they were safe there. The only people that were ever kind to them, the only people that were ever benevolent to them, the only people that didn't persecute them and hate them for being Jews was the Muslims. You hated Jews for what they are. You hated Jews for being Jews. But you made them do things by turning immigration, what should have been immigration, you turned it into colonization. And so we started to hate them because of what they did. We started to hate them for what they do. The Muslims started to hate them because of their actions. You hated them always for what they are, for their being, for their belief, for their religion. We didn't. We never did. We always had respect for them. So you just found a way to make your anti-Jewish hatred more sophisticated, and you found a way to put the Jews into endless problems by sending them to Palestine as colonizers instead of as immigrants. Sending them to Palestine with the dream of taking over Palestine by violence, which is how they took it over, by violence and massacre of women and children. Deir Yassin, for example. They took it over by terrorism. They took it over by thuggery. And that was with your backing, because you wanted to make a problem for the Jews. You wanted to make a problem for them, and then a problem for us. And you wanted to destroy the only friend that they ever had in this world, which was the Muslims. And even now, with everything that's been going on, and everything that's been going on for the last 70 years, even now, who's the one who's actually suing for a ceasefire? Who's the one that's actually trying to pursue peace and who's reacting to this conflict right now with diplomacy and not with aggression? It's the Muslims. And who is vetoing the calls for a ceasefire? You people. Because you hate Jews. You want them to be in a problem. You want them to be insecure. You want them to be in danger. You want them to be in conflict. You don't want them to be friends with the only friends that they ever had. You want them to be enemies. You don't want there to be anywhere safe for the Jews. And like I said, when you say that you support Zionism, you are implicitly saying that the Jews are never going to be safe in your country. The Jews are never going to be safe in your society. And then the only place that they ever were safe was in the Muslim world, and you have arranged it in such a way, you engineered it in such a way that they can't even be safe there now because of the way they came and the way they behaved with your backing. If they hadn't had your backing and they hadn't been instigated by you with this sick ideology of Zionism, they could have come to Palestine and just been neighbors. They could have come to Palestine and just become Jewish Palestinians. In Palestine, Jewish immigrants were always welcome, but colonizers were not welcome. And you decided that they should be colonizers just to create more problems and to create problems for the Jews in the only part of the world where they never had problems. So Zionism is just the perfection of anti-Semitism. It's the refinement of anti-Semitism. It's the pinnacle of anti-Jewish hatred.
There was one of Isaac's clips. You can school us on what's what, my brother. I'm not familiar with the gentleman that was on there.
Yeah, so that is Shahid Bulson. He is one of the correspondents, I think one of the founders of Middle Nation, which is a Muslim YouTube channel that goes over specifically what we go over, but in from a Muslim perspective. What's going on in Palestine, they give that truth and narrative to there that mainstream media will not give to you. This is an individual, for me, that embodies a lot of what contemporary ideology should look like. This is an individual that speaks from the heart. This is an individual that knows what he's talking about, that has done the work, that has done the tutelage, that has put himself in a position to speak the way that he speaks, simply because he understands and has done the work to get to that point. In the context of that video, he was speaking about the only friend that Jews had was the Muslims, and American hegemony, European hegemony has manipulated, i.e. through the construct of Zionism, has distorted that friendship. It has put a what would be considered an invisible barrier wall. If you want to talk about physical walls, we can talk about the walls that encroach Gaza, that encroach the West Bank. He speaks nothing but facts, and is an individual that is not afraid to even question or go after people who question him in regards to how he speaks about the West or stuff like that. So yeah, very, very vital individual, and hopefully we can get him on pretty soon. I do know that I've reached out, so hopefully the invitation gets returned. But yeah, very, very intellectual individual, and I hope you guys like that video too. So
okay, thank you for that informative background
for the Buna Report. Yes.
Anyway, yes, you are checking out the Rise Up Morning Show, Rise Up International Morning Show. Tomorrow we have some very next few days we have some strong guests that'll be joining us. Make sure what they say you like, subscribe, and all that good stuff. Again, we're here today. Yes, what they say, ring the bell. Ring the bell. You know what I'm saying? All that good stuff. Shout out to Alicia Myers. Ring the bell. Ring my bell. Y'all know about that.
I actually was just listening to yesterday. I want to thank you.
Okay. Look at Isaac trying to act like he old school, man. Put on with that. Isaac, like, I've been waiting to say this for a long time. Let y'all know I'm up to par. It's all good. Anyway, definitely check out some of our. We have a few shows that were done earlier this week. Check out. I was about to say decolonizing feminism.
Anti-imperialist.
Anti-imperialist feminism. and the Captain Maternal Agency with Dr. Joy James, Khadijah Haynes, and Marsha Hines. So make sure you check out the work that they're doing.
Really good episode they had. Highly advise you guys to check it out. Really good episode. I did not put it on as just ambient sound like I did the first episode, which was highly disrespectful to Joy James. But I did watch and I enjoyed it. I enjoy seeing my sisters on there consistently every was it every other Monday or is it once?
Yeah, every other Monday. They're on and they're laying out, something beyond, the I guess the mainstream version or brand of feminism. They're really bringing it to another level. Shout out to Dr. Joy James. I know she has another book she's dropping, I believe, in the next month, if it hasn't dropped already. So definitely shout out to her. She's dropped at least 7 books over the past year and some change and whatnot. Actually, we have one together. This joint right here, Beyond Cop Cities. If you haven't gotten this, Beyond Cop Cities, Dismantling State and Corporate Funded Armies and Prisons. Make sure you all check that out because we're going a little bit further than just talking about, what's going on in Atlanta and what's going on across the U.S. When we talk about cop cities, we're talking about, international. We're talking about military. It's not just a, because folks get it twisted. You want to blame the mall guards, you know what I'm saying, and not look at it as a whole. This is, a microcosm of the macrocosm. Today, speaking of sisters and electoral politics, because you talked about your favorite vice president, Kamala Harris. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know what Isaac was smoking before he got on here.
The woman who washes her collard greens in the bathtub.
She washes her collard greens in the bathtub. I didn't think she ever had collard greens, but it's all good. Don't get me started, man. You know what I'm saying? Who am I? But anyway, we've had a good brother, with the fly afro come on several times and whatnot. You know what I mean? And, we always enjoy him coming through and, we crack jokes, do our thing and all that. Today, and I'm talking about Dr. Cornell West, today we have our good sister who is the presidential candidate, Dr. West's vice presidential running mate. And she is a sister who's been fighting for years upon years. And, of course, she knows what's going on with the case of Khalifa Williams. And again, we're talking about Khalifa Williams probably about 8 hours away from his scheduled execution. So, we invited several people on, and this is one who we can count on to do what needs to be done. We have our sister Melina Abdullah in the building. What's happening? Peace. How you doing, Melina?
Peace. Good morning. Good to see you. Thank you for inviting me.
Yes. Good to see you as well. You're over on the West Coast, so it's early, huh?
It's early.
Okay.
We're both up on the West Coast right now.
Yeah. Isaac's over there on the West Coast acting like, like it's early, but I think y'all probably been up for a few hours. I don't know why y'all acting like it's a new thing, but it's all good. We appreciate you coming on.
Brother Isaac, you on the West too?
Yes, I'm currently residing in occupied new territory, Las Vegas. So.
Oh yeah, it's early for you too, huh?
Early.
Yes.
Isaac's up smoking early, so he good. He all right. He can get up. I'm gonna go hang with Kalonji. I'm nice and lit, so it's all good. Yeah, I wanted to talk to you about Khalifa.
Yes.
We already know that, you've seen numerous executions, whether it's executions, well, it's all by the state. So let me correct myself before I go there. Well, there's executions in the state by the police. On the streets by the police, of course, the military armed establishment, or those executions carried out by doctors. Because I think that one of the things that we don't look at when we talk about executions like Khalifa and Troy Davis, so on and so forth, physicians carry this out. These are people who took the quote unquote Hippocratic oath to maintain health, to protect humans, and to make sure lives are good. But again, this is one of the great contradictions when we talk about medical apartheid. These are people who are paid to execute these people. So I wanted to kind of, chat with you on that. Let's get some of your thoughts as far as what's taking place.
I think this morning when I woke up, when I did finally wake up, I think like a lot of us, it hit us what day it is, and our hearts were immediately heavy. I teach a class called Intersectional Blackness, and I had a teaching night. It was a teaching night when we were texting last night. And we started the class. We read this essay, Kimberly Crenshaw and Devin Carbato's essay on intersectionality and mapping the movement and intersectionality as a movement and what it means to embody intersectionality and the role that Black women have played in freedom struggle. So it's not just enough. We did like this inventory of identities and positionalities leading up to this class, but it's not enough to just have this inventory and then acknowledge the space that we stand in. But it also means something for how we live our lives and what it compels us to do. And so we began to examine the role that Black women have played, the beautiful role that Black women have played in freedom struggle. And then what we're compelled to do. Some people think that, we have an option, that there's an option to fight for the freedom of our people, but it's really a calling and a sacred duty to fight for the freedom of our people. So we began with that, but then we began with, so before we get into any of this, we have to take action. So there's, the phone call that everybody is making through the Innocence Project that will lead you to the governor's office. And I know that the governor of Missouri, the Missouri Governor Parson, refused clemency to Imam Khalifa, but we should still be calling because he should know that there's political consequences. So I'm sure you've shared that number, but the number is 417-373-3400, 417-373-3400. And everybody can call now, right? That line should be flooded. We should be tweeting at him. We should be emailing him. Prayerfully, people in Missouri are surrounding his home and office because what he's doing, as you're pointing out, Brother Kalanji, is this is a murder. This is a murder. And it's not just that every death penalty case is wrong. Every time the death penalty is used, it's a murder, and it is. Every time the state steals life, it's a murder, regardless of the innocence or supposed guilt of the person that they're killing. That is true. The death penalty is wrong in every single instance. And I'm grateful for those who stand up every single time. But when we talk about Imam Khalifa or Marcellus Williams, this is a case where he's actually factually innocent, right? Where someone else's DNA is on the knife that supposedly stabbed the victim to death, right? His DNA is nowhere to be found at the crime scene. The only evidence is two so-called witnesses who were incentivized to the tune of $10,000 each and promises around their own cases. Even the victims' family is petitioning the governor to please don't go through with this execution. So you're talking about not just the theft of life, but the theft of an innocent man's life who spent the last 24 years in prison offering spiritual guidance to others who were confined to that prison wall as an imam. And so I woke up this morning feeling heavy. But the other thing that we did in this class last night is also examine spaces of power for oppressed people. And that's really what this is, right? This is why you're Black Power media, right? That the structures, the institutions that we have lock us out of power, right? But there are spaces of power for Black people, for Black women, for Black Muslims, right? Our Ummah as Muslims is a space of power. Our beautiful ability, and there's a lot written about our sense of linked fate as Black people is exercising, is being measured to have the highest degree of linked fate of any other group. Our understanding, even the heaviness that I and you woke up with, recognizing that there's just a matter of hours unless there's some sort of divine intervention, just a matter of hours before Imam Khalifa's life is stolen. The ability to resonate and feel that is also a source of power. So I'm saying all that to say that we are also the most hopeful people because we know that there's power beyond understanding when we do the work. And so we won't give up. We will continue to struggle and we will demand until the last possible moment and even beyond for the stay of execution of Imam Khalifa. The thing that I did as vice presidential candidate is recently, last night or yesterday evening, petitioned the current vice president to step in. I think that you all have been talking about Kamala Harris and her supposed collard green making. I'm with you, Brother Isaac. She don't make collard greens, and I don't know if she's ever tasted collard greens because look, beyond the washing them in the bathtub is if you eat pork, it's not bacon that you use to make collard greens. I know that, and I'm Muslim, right? You don't cook it with Tabasco sauce, right? You know, come on, man. That's your secret ingredient, bacon and Tabasco sauce. You lying, right? But what we do know is Kamala Harris.
That's the Indian version. I'm sorry.
Right. What we do know is Kamala Harris is on record as saying that she's opposed to the death penalty. And if you're opposed to the death penalty, we need you to speak up right now. Your boss, Joe Biden, right, has said, because you say, you know, you don't have any power right now. You don't have any power when you don't want to bear responsibility for the Biden-Harris administration's policies, but then you have power when you want to take credit for things, right? So look, we're saying in this moment, Joe Biden actually ran on an anti-death penalty ticket, that you have a responsibility and a duty to speak up, to use your power, your actual power as vice president, but also to use your actual power as someone who has the largest platform in the world right now to demand the stay of the execution of Imam Khalifa, also known as Marcellus Williams.
You mentioned, and I appreciate that for sure. You mentioned so many of the contradictions in this case. You mentioned the fingerprints on the knife, none of them being Imam Khalifa's. You mentioned the DNA or lack thereof. You mentioned the fact that the family was like, look, you know, let's not do this. You know, let's look into this. This don't feel right, whatever, so on and so forth. With all of that, with all of the, you know, the witnesses being paid off, you know, the incentivizing of the witnesses, so on and so forth. Question I have is, why do you feel Governor Parsons and his colleagues are moving forward? Why do you feel that, you know, they have in their heart to murder? Because I think execution is almost like a nice term for brutal reality. Execution here in the United States almost implies guilt. It implies that, you know, we have to sort of like euthanize. We have to take this, you know, this rabid dog and put him to sleep so that he won't victimize anyone else. Why do you think they're so hell bent on moving forward in this case?
Right. Well, we have to broaden it to gain any type of understanding, right? Beyond the case, we have to understand that the death penalty in this country was designed specifically to do this, right? The death penalty in this country, when we think about historic death penalty cases, right? When we think about the death penalty that was exacted against our honored, revered, righteous ancestor, Nat Turner, the point of the death penalty is to put Black people's heads on stakes, right? To make examples of them. And so Parson is absolutely of that school. We got to remember his predecessor actually did stay the execution of Imam Khalifa. And Parson went in like the white supremacist that he is and lifted that stay. So he's doing this intentionally. The death penalty is moving forward the way that it's supposed to, right? When we think about death penalty cases, Black people constituting 13% of this country, but 41% of death penalty cases. And if the victim is white, we are 4.5 times more likely to have our lives stolen, to be executed if the victim is white. So Parson is doing what a rabid white racist does, which is say, we are going to put this righteous Black man who has, you know, again, provided spiritual guidance to the folks within the prison walls. We're going to put his head on a stake to remind Black people of their place. And so, you know, I'm not a psychologist, but I am someone who studies politics. And I think that this political moment is also meant to remind Black people of their place, remind Black people that if you were a good Negro and a house Negro in the Malcolm X term of it, right? When we think about Brother Malcolm, Minister Malcolm, talking about house Negroes caping for unjust systems, caping for the massa, right? That house Negroes get pats on the head and get rewarded and get, you know, what was it, an Instagram live with other house Negroes, right? House Negroes get that, right? But if you are a field Negro, your head will be on a stake like Imam Khalifa. And I think that's what's happening. It's also, you know, completely, when you're talking about the two things that they claim the death penalty to be about, right? Comfort for the family. I actually did think about the victim's family this morning. And I thought about what kind of torture is this for them, right? That they have a loved one who was brutally stabbed to death. But on their conscience is, we don't want any old Black man to be also murdered in the name of my daughter, right? We don't want any old Black man to be murdered.
Right.
And we want Imam Khalifa, we want Marcellus Williams to live. So it's not comfort for the family, it's torture for the family to execute him. But the second thing why the death penalty makes no sense, if we're to use their rationale, is we know the death penalty is not a deterrent to crime.
Absolutely.
That there's 27 states that have the death penalty, 23 states that don't have the death penalty. There is not a lower crime rate or a lower murder rate in the 27 states that have the death penalty. Within those 27 states, 9 of them have current moratoriums. The murder rate did not go up in California when we imposed a moratorium in 2019 on the death penalty. It's not a deterrent to crime. So the only reason for the death penalty, again, is to put heads on stakes and to remind us that we still live in a system that descends from chattel slavery, that is based on, Brother Isaac, I love what you said, and I'm on the stolen land of the Tongva Quiche and Gabrielino people, right? We live in a country based on the stolen land of indigenous people and the stolen labor and lives of our African ancestors. And that's what it is, and that's what the death penalty does, is remind us of that fact.
Definitely, you're checking out the Rise Up Morning Show. We are live with Melina Abdullah, Vice Presidential candidate, with Dr. Cornell West. You mentioned a few things. First, I want to make a correction. I was reminded by one of my favorite attorneys that doctors are prohibited from participating in the actual execution in the United States. He said one of the prison staff presses the button but doesn't know which contains the execution cocktail, and the doctors only confirm the death. So we still, and I appreciate that, but we still say the doctors should call off. You know what I'm saying? I'm not, when Troy was scheduled to be executed, prior to it, his sister, put in a request for a visit, so on and so forth, because I wanted to visit him, prior. The warden returned the message saying that the only way I'd be invited in is to witness his execution. So I couldn't see him alive, but if I want to see him suffer and die, then you're welcome to come on board. So of course I didn't go witness his execution because I don't have that bloodthirst. That's not what I'm here for. You mentioned a few different things. I think Isaac may have a question though. You want to get that?
Yeah, first I want to say it's such an honor to be on the screen with you. I've had multiple conversations with Dr. West on here and on my own network, and so this is the first time I've actually been able to sit down with you. So I really am honored. This campaign as a whole has stood in lockstep with grassroots movements, with what would be considered the lower ranking, set of individuals, whether it's journalism, again, grassroots organizations that feed the homeless, political prisoners. How does your guys' campaign align with the people more than, say, I'm not going to name in specific, but to all these other campaigns that are out there? What has your campaign done that has been different but has also been beneficial to grassroots? I know that you come out of Black Lives Matter grassroots and are an individual that has been in solidarity with the abolition of African individuals from this system, from imperialism. So I'd like to get your thoughts on that, because we have individuals that right now will put out a 2-3 minute video and call that solidarity, but have you talked to the families? Have you talked to the camps of Imam Khalifa? Have you done any of these things? Versus your guys' campaign, as you said, you had a workshop that you guys did, for which you highlighted Imam, and were being put in, and have put yourself in a position to really, for me, throughout this whole entire process, you guys' campaign has been nothing but realness I've seen. And so I wanted to highlight that, but also ask the question, how does your campaign differ from all the other campaigns out there in the context of Imam?
Right. Well, thank you so much for the question. And it's an honor to be with you as well. And I hope one day it's not on the screen, that it's in person. So I feel very blessed and fortunate to have shared space many times now with Brother Kalanji, and, both before and since I was announced as vice presidential candidate with Dr. West. Look, this run is a huge surprise to me. I've said many, many times that I would never, ever, ever, ever run for office, right? I said, I would never do that, right? Because for many reasons, but I guess one of the primary reasons is I like to cuss a lot, right? Like I like to cuss. Right. I like to cuss. I like to engage in grassroots work, and I would just say that it's the base of the work. It's not lower work. It's the base of the work, and it's the way in which change actually happens in this world is through the grassroots. So when Dr. West, who I've respected um, for years, for decades, I was first exposed to him when I was an undergraduate student at Howard University. Race Matters came out when I was an undergrad. And I remember the book came out and it was hugely influential. And, you're talking about the early 90s. And we were all really inspired. Even the title Race Matters was something that was really important. And I was a student organizer then, and we were having a student event. And we were in the midst of the event, and I looked out in the audience, and there's Cornel West just sitting at a table, right? He wasn't asked to speak. He was just there sitting at a table, like witnessing the students organizing, right? And it was phenomenal. This brother named Julius Bailey, who's now my friend and colleague in intellectual spaces, he brought him. Dr. West was an advisor to Julius Bailey, who was in grad school at the time. And so he was hugely influential, and I was influenced by his intellectual work throughout grad school and as I went on to become a professor. And then had the opportunity to be with him in the struggle for ethnic studies, which I think we sometimes discount as, more academic than it is. But we have to remember Black studies and ethnic studies is an intellectual pursuit, not an academic pursuit, right? It is really about developing an intellectual arm for revolution. And when they threatened to dismantle ethnic studies in California, Dr. West showed up and used all of his power as one of the most revered public intellectuals of the time to say, if you touch Pan-African studies at Cal State LA, I'm coming back. And so we were in work there. And then in 2014, when Mike Brown was murdered in Ferguson, I was blessed and fortunate to, with my daughter, be in the streets and be in space with Cornel West in Ferguson. So I didn't expect him to ask me to run. I was content to be an ardent supporter and an enthusiastic supporter of his candidacy. And I'd interviewed him on my own radio show, which, it was a great honor to interview him. And a couple days later, he and his wife called me, and I thought they were calling to debrief the interview. And instead, he asked me to be his running mate. So I'll cut to the chase, Brother Isaac. When I was asked, I exist in community, right? I'm never an individual, right? And I think that's what capitalism does, is give us the false view or try to feed us the false view that we're individuals, but we're not individuals. We're bound to one another, and we're constantly in community. So when he asked me, my heart soared, and I wanted to immediately say yes. But first, I'm also a single mama of 3 kids. I had to check in with my children, checked in with them, checked in with my parents, who I still got to ask my mama for permission before I do anything big. But then checked in with my organizing community. And I organize with Black Lives Matter Grassroots, which is 39 chapters on the ground all around the country, including in Atlanta, including in Los Angeles, including in Mississippi, all around the country. BLM Grassroots is doing phenomenal organizing work. And I checked in with both the leadership, but also the chapters around the country. And we agreed that this is an opportunity for us to both advance our vision, because Dr. West does define himself as an abolitionist, as someone who advances Black power. He has a track record that aligns with our beliefs. And not only is he, the smartest man in the world. He's demonstrated a sense of humility and righteousness that gave us confidence in how we engage in electoral justice work. And so we see this as an opportunity for us to say, this is what we mean when we still say defund the police. This is why we must stop cop cities, right? This is the work of abolishing the death penalty, but also, remembering that public safety doesn't come from prisons that cage human beings, right? And these are new forms of public safety. And so this is what we've had the opportunity to do. And also, we're building towards maintaining movement. So even before my run years ago, when Black Lives Matter got involved in electoral justice, in 2020, we began to advance this idea of voting and organizing. Yes, it's important to vote in November. And that's only one tool in our toolbox. We have to constantly be organizing for community power, for people power, and for a transformed system that actually benefits all of us.
Definitely appreciate you dropping those jewels. I want to ask too, because we're talking about Khalifa, and we know that we're also advocates, for political prisoners, the liberation of political prisoners, right? I want to know your stance. You have Leonard Peltier, who has been locked up close to 50 years, just turned 80 about a week or so ago, a couple weeks ago. You have Umar Abu-Jamal, who's been locked up close to 42, 43 years. He just turned 70 this past April 24th. You have Imam Jamil Al-Amin, formerly H. Rap Brown, who will be 81 on October 4th. He's been locked up over 20 years. We have Aranza Bowers, who was locked up for 50 years, was supposed to be released 20 years prior to his release. I want to know your thoughts. How important is the liberation of political prisoners? And, do you see a connection between political prisoners, cop cities, and what's going on with Khalifa right now?
Absolutely, there's a connection. Absolutely, there's a connection. So when we talked about this system of putting free Black people's heads on stakes, right? That comes in the form of the death penalty and also comes in the form of political prisoners. And so I want to underscore what you're saying, Brother Kalanji, about all of those who you named. And I've been fortunate enough to work on several cases, including some of those that you're talking about. So we're intentionally doing work around Imam Jamil Al-Amin right now, and of course have been supportive of freeing all political prisoners, freeing them all, right? And have been, I think this is where we talk about the spaces of power. Also very blessed to have witnessed some victories, right? So I'm honored that, the very room that I'm sitting in, just a few months or a month or so after his release, Baba Matulu Shakur, if you ever got a chance to talk to or meet him, you know how he likes to roll, right? So I'm sitting here like in pajama pants, like I am now, and I get a call. What's your exact address, right? And it's Brother Zaid, who's Baba Matulu's godson, on the phone. I give him my address, and Baba Matulu and Brother Zaid are outside my house. And, for the months that he was free, the 7 months that he was free, I was fortunate enough to be mentored by and guided by and popped in on by Baba Matulu Shakur. You know, we did work around that case. We did work around Rochelle McGee, right? And, you know, one of, I don't live with very many regrets, but one of the regrets that I have is that we had poured ourselves into work for Rochelle McGee. We spent money. Black Lives Matter didn't have any money until 2020. So we spent money we didn't have to try to get Rochelle McGee free. We put up billboards, we bought t-shirts, you know, we engaged in social media campaigns, letter writing campaigns, and finally saw the release of Rochelle McGee, who went home to live with his cousin in the Inland Empire, which is about 2 hours from me. And I kept stalling, going to visit him. And he passed before I got to meet him in person. But I feel honored and blessed that I got to work on getting him free. And I talked to his cousin Barbara still. And, you know, she talks about how he remained funny, you know, and cracked jokes all the time until the moment of his death. And so we believe in, but also work towards the freedom of political prisoners. Dr. West has been deeply involved in the Free Mumia effort and calls Mumia Abu Jamal a personal friend. And so we've been doing that work. And what I'd like to add to what you said is that we also have to remember that there's contemporary political prisoners. And so we want to lift up the case of Brittany Martin, who still is not home. We don't forget about her, but please keep your eyes on what's happening in her case. Brittany Martin was a pregnant Black mama of 6 children when she was arrested, charged, prosecuted, and sentenced for simply leading a Black Lives Matter march in South Carolina, Sumter, South Carolina in 2020 in the name of George Floyd. Since she was imprisoned, she's been brutally beaten, been sexually assaulted, forced to have her baby, her last baby, who she named Blessing, inside the prison walls, refused the right to breastfeed her child, had her locks cut off, and then disappeared within the prison system, moved from, unbeknownst to her family, moved from a South Carolina state prison to an Illinois state prison without any family notification. And so we're still saying free Brittany Martin. We're also saying free Jay Burton, who was only 16 years old when he was arrested, charged as an adult, and 30, what is this? He's going to be 52 this year. So 34 years later, he's still in prison. Even if he committed the murder that they accused him of committing, he should have been home 20 years ago, right? But the only reason he's still in prison is because he's been leading the prison strikes in California, right? The hunger strikes in California. He's a co-founder of the Black Lives Matter prison chapters that we have in California. And so again, this is Black people's heads on stakes, right? It's the death penalty, but it's also the imprisonment of our people for political reasons. That's what political prisoners are about. When we think about George Jackson, he didn't remain in prison because he was part of a, what was it, $70 robbery of a gas station. That's not what kept him in prison. What kept him in prison is his consciousness and his consciousness raising. And so that's what political prisoners about. We know that prisons also don't keep people safe. And as we engage in prison abolition, the first ones that need to come home are political prisoners.
No doubt. Definitely appreciate you dropping that, and appreciate the work you all have been doing, particularly around Rochelle McGee. Rochelle McGee, for folks who don't know, served 67 years altogether. He was, quote unquote, free 16 and a half years of his life, you know, and I think he was out maybe 3 months before he transitioned. And, you know, it is the Rochelle McGee case is criminal in so many levels, and I'm not going
That's
to get into that right now because there's so many folks who damn near forgot that he existed. They forgot, you know, that he should have been liberated, and they didn't go hard for this brother who, um, Rochelle Sinkay McGee, who, like Sinkay from Amistad, you know, he was a rebellious slave, you know, and he didn't have a problem saying that, you know, that he was there because of those reasons. You're talking about a man who, through our research, we found that the judges were supposed to release them back in 1973. But the thing is, the judge didn't record, um, you know, the finding. And so he ended up finally being released in 2023, which is another case that when I think about it, it's just like it makes my blood boil because we failed him. Admittedly, I didn't know anything about Brittany Martin, but I definitely want to get updated and you know, for us to support, you know, her and Jay Burton and others.
That's right. That's right. Well, I want to say this, Brother Kalanji. What was beautiful, so I did finally make it out to the Inland Empire for Brother Rochelle Sinkay. Thank you for inserting that, because Rochelle Sinkay McGee's funeral. Like Sinkay, he died a free man, right? And one of, again, a great honor is that Rochelle Sinkay McGee asked to be buried in a Black Lives Matter grassroots pin. And we got to pin that on him just before the burial. But also, I was in this space with people didn't forget about him. And so, you know, what we're saying, you know, I think the system tries to make us think we're powerless. But as I entered that very small funeral, small, but there were, you know, we got to remember he was only free for the first 16 years of his life.
Right.
And so his funeral had about maybe 75, 100 people there, right? One of the brothers who was there, he asked me, my mother's name is Manzili, right? That's her African name, but her birth name is Linda. He walked up to me and he said, "Aren't you Linda's daughter?" And I said, and he's in his 70s. My mother's in her 70s. I was like, yeah, but people call my mom Zeely now, right? And he was like, I was part of the Free Rochelle McGee Coalition with your mom in the Bay Area. My family, I'm from Oakland, California. My mother struggled for the freedom of Rochelle McGee before I was born. People didn't forget about him. The same brother who struggled alongside my mother also struggled alongside me. For 50 years, he's been working to free Rochelle McGee. So Rochelle McGee, when he transitioned out of his body, he knew he was free, and he knew he was free because community did not forget about him. And we don't forget about any of our political prisoners. We remember all of our political prisoners, and we will not stop fighting for them until we actually free them all.
Right on. Well, we're glad that that some folks did remember our comrade and our OG, who is now an ancestor, which, you know, again, the beautiful thing about it, and I know folks, you know, you have small victories. That was important. That was one of those times when the compassionate release situation worked in the favor, because none of us want to truly die behind enemy lines. We're behind enemy lines now, but we're in general population, you know. So, you know, to Rochelle McGee, we say, you know, we salute him for his consistency. You know,
that's right.
You know, it's unfortunate because the state was so ruthless, and I was in touch with his lawyers from slightly before he got out, and after he transitioned. And one of the things I didn't share before, but I'm gonna share now, is that the first case that he was accused of before the whole situation with going back to I believe was it Alabama or Louisiana? I think it was Louisiana.
Louisiana.
Yeah. When they accused him of uh, something with a white woman, some craziness. It was an Emmett Till type situation. I believe it was in 1955 as well. Just some BS that he was not guilty of. But one of the things that these ruthless bastards did is when they had him living at his cousin's house, they wanted to put him on a sex offender piece. You understand what I'm saying? For a case that he didn't commit. So even when they quote unquote are acting as if they have some type of humanity, they have to do something to try to humiliate you. They have to do something to stick it to you one more time. So and that's part of the reason why we continue to say fuck this system, and that we know beyond the shadow of a doubt that like Rome, like Greece, and so many empires, this is temporary. And the problem is, unfortunately, a lot of Africans and indigenous people home and abroad haven't gotten the memo yet that liberation is in our DNA. We haven't gotten the memo yet that resistance is in our DNA. So what's going on in the Sahel with Burkina Faso and other places, it ain't no new thing, as Gil Scott Heron would say. You know what I mean? This is how we do. This is how we get down. And the state is clear about that. And that's why, as what Milena mentioned a little while ago, about them putting the heads of the field Negroes on a stake so that the rest of the house Negroes and the rest of the field Negroes can know to stay in their place. We know that's alive and well. Of course, we live on one of the biggest plantations. When you talk about Georgia, the prison population here rivals antebellum Georgia. It rivals when enslavement was at its height here in this particular state. But unfortunately, people say, well, you live in Atlanta, you live in a black Mecca. Atlanta's the black Mecca indeed. Mecca's the desert. And that's what's going on here. So it's the valley of bones. This is the place where, not even King did anything significant. When you think about King, you hear the Birmingham letters. You talk about, he wasn't even murdered here. He wasn't even assassinated here. You know what I'm saying? This is the place where they had their little organizing. But Atlanta, in particular, it is the home of the Negroes. It's the place where they keep you in check. So we have to remember to continue to resist. We thank you for joining us, Milena, short notice. And we appreciate your work, your efforts, and your energy. You, like me and others, every now and then you get boulders thrown at you and whatnot, and you crack that shit up and turn it into a bridge or a fortress and keep it moving. So I appreciate that, the strength and tenacity, and we're gonna win in spite of ourselves.
That's right. That's right. And I don't know it keeps coming to me. I don't want to leave without saying Baba Sekou Odinga's name.
Yes.
Lifting Baba Sekou Odinga, who showed us as a long-serving political prisoner that you never allow them to actually capture you. You never allow them to actually capture you because your spirit is always free. You keep fighting. And so I think that's one of the greatest lessons that I've learned from Baba Sekou and from all of our political prisoners, that they show us never to submit, always to fight. Because like you said, Brother Kalanji, they try to trick us into believing that we shouldn't be fighting for our freedom, but it is our duty to fight until we're all free. And so I'm grateful for you and thank you for for inviting me on. Let's work. Let's work for Brother Imam Khalifa Marcellus Williams. Let's fight for him. Let's make those phone calls. Let's, make dua, make prayer for him. Spiritual work is also another one of those places we have power that they try to act like that's not real power. That is real power. And I don't mean those timid little, thoughts and prayers. I mean those prayers that you feel resonate in your soul. You can feel the earth moving beneath your feet or your knees when you are offering them. Those kinds of prayers. So let's use every tool in our toolbox to free Imam Khalifa Marcellus Williams and stay that execution. Again, that phone number is 417-373-3400. And you can follow Free Marcellus for more on what's happening with this. Yeah.
Thank you, Belina. I gotta highlight something. I'm from the IE. I was born in Pomona Valley Hospital. I was born and raised in Ontario. So I'm glad to know that Melina Abdullah and the West Campaign made it to the Inland Empire. But most importantly, too, I'm also indigenous to where you were born at, which is Oakland. So I am Ohlone, Kostano Rumsen. And so I like to make these connections because it's something that my ancestors, my elders have taught me to identify when I see it is that there's a reason why we're on the screen right now. That's not energy that was lost. It's not lost energy. There's a reason why we stand in solidarity the way that we do. And so I'm deeply, deeply proud of this conversation, having you on. And I'd like to get you on my network sometime. So that we can go a little bit more in depth on the campaign. But yeah, I just had to highlight that when you said you're from Oakland, I said, oh, okay, well, this is the connection right here. This is why the vibes are so up right now.
That's right. It's that town connection, right. Yeah.
We're not about to have no set tripping on here, so let me just tell y'all that right now.
Don't get me to really going because I say, where you from? In Oakland. Yeah, exactly.
You're gonna call Isaac out. You're gonna be like, "Oh, not that Oakland, the other Oakland."
Anyway. I can tell Brother Isaac's from real Oakland. You from the real Oakland, right?
I see him. He act like some of the cats out in Oakland. Shout out to our folks out in Oakland. Shout out to Cat Brooks, Terha, Che, and all the people out there putting in that work out in the streets and whatnot. We appreciate you. We appreciate the grounding, the foundation. And like I said, we're gonna win. We are here. The beautiful thing about Imam Khalifa is that he's a Muslim, so he's not afraid of death. He doesn't fear death, and as we say, they plan Allah, and Allah is the best of planners. So we're gonna stay on point and keep on winning. Melina, we will talk to you soon. Be safe out there, and we'll see you in the whirlwind.
Yes, thank you. Peace, y'all.
Peace. You're checking out the Rise Up Morning Show, Rise Up International Morning Show. You know what we do around here. We might stick around for a few extra minutes. We got one more guest coming. Isaac didn't know it. You know what I'm saying? Can't give Isaac too much. Isaac over there, happy somebody from Oakland with him and whatnot. He like, yeah, now y'all know you be claiming Vegas every day, but I ain't gonna say nothing about that. That's the beat, but it's serve the call, just free them all. We're gonna win. We're gonna go to a quick break. We got a few bonus minutes or whatever we're gonna rock with, and y'all stay tuned real quick. Isaac, like another break. You ain't tell me he was gonna do another break.
I only prepared for two.
Isaac, whatever, man. We're gonna catch you in a minute. This is the Rise Up Morning Show. Y'all stay tuned. Don't go nowhere. We're gonna let it do what it do. Rise up.
Europe has fought more fratricidal wars than any other continent or all the continents put together. Europe still speaks of European continental unity. Of course, Africa will unify before Europe, but that's not the point of discussion here this evening. The fact that Europe, with all the fratricidal wars she has fought, can speak of continental unity shows this evolutionary process. Africa, like any other society anywhere in the world, was involved in this same evolutionary process, going from family to tribe to clan to nation to continent. This evolutionary process was interrupted by European imperialism. It came in two forms: slavery and colonialism. First, they took over 300 million, the strongest, out of Africa, and then they divided Africa at the Berlin Conference. So you can see that Africa herself was moving on this evolutionary process. This evolutionary process, which would lead to continental unity, and Africa will still be the first continent unified, was interrupted by European capitalism. Since it was interrupted by European capitalism and evolutionary process, the only way that Africa can unite today is through a revolutionary process aiming at a socialist economy. If capitalism destroyed us, it doesn't make sense to use capitalism to continue with it. We must use the antithesis of capitalism, which of course is socialism. And certainly if an evolutionary process has been interrupted, the only way we can capture the time lost is through a revolutionary process. We state these facts only to let you know that those of us who are revolutionary, Pan-Africanists, is not because we love revolution. It is historically determined, and we have no alternative but to follow history and to use history for the benefit of our people. So this then is the general outlines of Pan-Africanism. So you must not think that Africanism just began. Had Africa been left untrampled by European imperialism, we'd have a long time achieved continental unity. Secondly, Pan-Africanism must be seen as a movement, a mass movement. And this mass movement must be properly understood. Africa, of course, because of racism, is belittled everywhere. And many people do not see Africa's constant, underline the word constant, contributions to world civilization. Since the 1940s, Africa has given, even before the 1940s actually, we can go back to the Honorable Marcus Garvey, Africa has given to world political movements a mass character. Africans revolt in masses, never as a vanguard party. If you look at the independence struggle in Africa, it was nothing less than mass. If you look at the struggle in the Caribbean for independence, it was nothing less than mass. And even in the United States of America, the only movement they call a mass movement is our movement. Therefore, this mass character must be properly understood. Pan-Africanism has this mass character. Africans have this mass character in responding. And our responsibility is to bring this mass character together, make it precise so that it can direct its blows at the enemy, hitting him until we knock him down. Therefore, the task of Pan-Africanism is to gather the masses of our people together in the same organization, irrespective of where they find themselves, be it in Europe, be it in the United States, be it in the Caribbean, or be it in Africa. This is the first aspect, then we must understand. Pan-Africanism found its organizational expressions in 1900. Here, a Pan-African conference, here the word conference, was organized by Africans from all over the world. They came together deciding that something must be done for Africa. One of the leading organizers of this conference was a man by the name of Henry Sylvester Williams, born in Trinidad, a man whom you should do some history on, a very, very great man. Dr. W.E.B. Du Bois attended the conference, but he was not one of the leaders in 1900. By 1917, 1918, the idea of a necessity for a Pan-African Congress, not conference, Congress, was to be called. But most of the people who did the conference were dead. Henry Sylvester Williams was dead. A lot of them were dead. Du Bois was about the only one who was alive. Du Bois recognized he had a historic responsibility to continue the work of Pan-Africanism, so he called the first Pan-African Congress. Make a clear distinction. The first one in 1900 was a conference. Du Bois, being intelligent, understanding that a conference is limited and a Congress has more elasticity and can go longer, called it a Pan-African Congress. From the 1990s up until 1945, we could say seriously, Dr. W.E.B. Du Bois just about single-handedly kept the flame of Pan-Africanism alive. One thing must also be underlined to you. Pan-Africanism was brought into being in its organized form by the Africans outside of Africa. This was done only because of the oppression of Africa. At that time, Africa was under total colonial domination. There could be no political meetings. As a matter of fact, if you had the paper of the Honorable Marcus Garvey, you could go to jail. So the conditions were such that it was difficult for the Africans on the continent to organize. Africans off of the continent, recognizing this, came quickly to fill up that gap. So Pan-Africanism itself was brought to bear by the diaspora. But you must not think that the diaspora brought Pan-Africanism for the diaspora. Not at all. The center of
What's happening? It's the Rise Up Morning Show. You know what we do around here. We got one more guest. I know y'all like what's going on. We got a little bit of, again, we've been talking about Khalifa today. His good brother is scheduled to be assassinated. A few hours, 6 p.m. his time, 7 p.m. EST. And we are here at the Rise Up Morning Show, Black Power Media. We have a special guest coming on soon. And we want you all to stick around. Make sure you call the Governor Parsons. And, if you have it in your soul and in your heart, to do something to try to stop this execution, you call Governor Mike Parson at 573-751-3222, 573-751-3222. Again, you're checking out the Rise Up International Morning Show. This is on Black Power Media. If you haven't subscribed yet, make sure you subscribe to Black Power Media. Reloaded on YouTube, Black Power Media Reloaded on YouTube. You won't be disappointed. We have our new magazine, new issue dropping tomorrow, our second issue, which will be Afro Pick, real dope writers that'll be joining us on this new issue. We're going to go to a quick musical selection, and we'll be back in 5 minutes with a special guest. Don't go nowhere.
Widespread across the world. Riots were reported on Monday, and the United Nations is calling for emergency.
Forward motion. That me a deal with yap, forward motion. We on the whole clip, yap, forward motion. That me a deal with yap, forward motion. When we start, now we have a quick yo. Forward motion. That me a deal with yap, forward motion. We on the whole clip, yap, forward motion. That me a deal with yap, forward motion. When we start, now we have a quick. My brothers and sisters, don't move static. Remember say yes we are higher than average. System we pillage, plunder, ravage. Still our land, so they can live lavish. Poison the food, continue the damage. Mix the curriculum, school and college. Forward motion, elevate knowledge. Alpha man, figure let go the college. We're killing shock away in your forehead. One is with your brother means no more dirt. One is with your sister means no more dirt. One is with the earth means you more dirt. One is with spirit means you true third. From the beginning we have been original man. Foundation, our original stand. For criminal destiny, original plan of original man. Indio, Kimetan, Kushai, Nupian, Panjigan, Akipilan, Guardians of the land. Dealing with communication has been our ancestral plan. Forward motion. That me a deal with yap, forward motion. We on the whole clip, yap, forward motion. That me a deal with yap, forward motion. When we start, now we have a quick yo. Forward motion. That me a deal with yap, forward motion. We on the whole clip, yap, forward motion. That me a deal with yap, forward motion. When we start, now we have a quick.
Forward motion, never back on nigga. Get out, drop, stop selling crack, stop pulling triggers. I'm black, you black, he black. Black lives matter, go figure. Equality is equal to white man privilege. Give me that. Give me white man privilege. Pop. White cops purging the village. In the urban landscape, the black village. America, white supremacists. You condition cool, just don't get it. RBG is coming soon, them niggas are the realest. Genocide. Yeah, they wanna kill us. They contradict why. Yeah, they wanna kill us. This is global white supremacy. That is the global enemy. Fire burn white Jesus Christ. Fire burn white Christianity.
Forward motion. That me a deal with yap, forward motion. We on the whole clip, yap, forward motion. That me a deal with yap, forward
motion, forward motion when we start. Now we not go quick, yo. Forward motion, forward motion. That me a do it, yup, yup. Forward motion, forward motion. We on the whole click, yup, yup. Forward motion, forward motion. That me a do it, yup, yup. Forward motion when we start. Now we not go quick.
Young and I'm black and my God call me Atlas. I got the whole world on my shoulders. I am the maker, the owner, the indigenous soul controller. All these devils act like they control us. Send they police to patrol us. I know they said trust, but I'm focused. I triggered the traps to free focus. Knew this you Rugu would do it, you Rugu do. Fuck it, come dance with me, devil. I knew that your race and your whole population was below replacement level. Fear of genetic annihilation at the end of your dominion. I study your nature, ISIS papers, Dr. Francis Cross Wilson. I'm dominant, you a recessor, so actually time's on my side. Despite your aggression and all the oppression, I'm ever forward. Ain't no way to stop a conscious ghetto god, decolonized from a goddamn menticide. Breed vibes for the tribe, all wise, civilized, black liberation, nigga. I'll be before Hody, only black revolutionary homies. Straight ahead, Russell Maroon shows told me. Gunshots, that means forward. Lick one, that means rewind. Forward, forward, forward. Might select the reload your carbine.
Forward motion, forward motion. That me a do it, yup, yup. Forward motion, forward motion. We on the whole click, yup, yup. Forward motion, forward motion. That me a do it, yup, yup. Forward motion when we start. Now we not go quick, yo. Forward motion, forward motion. That me a do it, yup, yup. Forward motion. We on the whole click, yup, yup. Forward motion. That me a do it, yup, yup. Forward motion when we start. Now we not go quick.
What's happening? It's the Rise Up Morning Show on Black Power Media. You know what we do around here. Today we are it's a solemn day. It's a day that that we weren't necessarily looking forward to. You know, of course we say every day is a good day, great day for revolution. However, you know, it's not a fun day. You know, it's a day that we within the next less than 12 hours, 10 hours or so, Marcellus Williams, known as Imam Khalifa, is scheduled to be executed by the state of Missouri, St. Louis, Missouri to be exact. Of course, he's been denied a stay of execution. He's been denied and Governor Parsons and his cohorts, they're looking to murder this man, as we talked about earlier. I wanted to call on one of my comrades, longtime comrade I've known over 20-something years, is the chairman of the Black Panther Cubs. He is the son of two of our favorite freedom fighters, one being Mama Akua and Jerry from the Illinois chapter of the Black Panther Party, and the other one being our martyred ancestor who was assassinated by the state, Chairman Fred Hampton. We have today, my brother and comrade, Chairman Fred Hampton Jr. will be joining us. He's going to turn his camera on. We're going to bring him on the screen and make it happen.
Fred Maul, comrade, right on.
Fred Maul, what's happening, comrade? How you feeling, brother? Can you hear me? You just got muted. I think you might have muted yourself. Okay. We heard you. You was muted, so we might have to have you log back in. Not sure what just happened.
Okay, am I back on?
Yeah, you're in a place to be. How you feeling?
Right on. Hey, we rumbling as you mentioned, comrade. Fact that it's the fact that it's impending. We gonna in regards to this the state of Missouri in particular, but the state in general, that they literally dressed to kill. We talking about 6 p.m. tonight, Central Time, and we said we want to keep on pushing the line past 5:59, and it's humbling, you know. Just like if you just look at a situation, just say a scenario where it wasn't straight out, this the most this the big kahuna of capitalism, you know what I'm saying? U.S. imperialism. This is a system. We subjected to a system that said, when it says it's gonna it's gonna go kick the doors in to Panama. You know what I'm saying? This you see the images. It's, them going just snatching up, leadership in Panama and locking them up. You know what I'm saying? This is a system that which in Iraq, literally pull the strings, made to hang a sitting president. System that has a resume that's been ripped off and robbed and continues to rob resources from from our motherland, Africa. I see those resources. I'm just talking about the copper and the gold to literally us as a people. So the fact that's humbling that we going against all odds. When they say they're gonna make a move tonight at 6 p.m., cats on the streets say, somebody say they coming for you. They say, okay, man, who are they factors? And they say, yes, this is a factor. So when they come to make that move on you, it's a humbling feeling. But we also got to be equipped with a political history of a people who resist, and also that we can't devalue our history to a reactionary history. In other words, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, you know what I'm saying? It's an amazing move. As the chairman phrase, we're gonna dare to struggle. We're gonna dare to struggle. We're gonna dare to win. You know what I'm saying? It's gonna be some furniture moves here too. We gonna resist. We're gonna resist. You know what I'm saying? Again, I just I put a comment the other day. I meant to respond back to all those responses, and you Conrad, and I talked about. I just September 14th acknowledged 23 years since I was released or unleashed out of those concentration camps, and I flash back to those memories, and
I can't believe that was 23 years ago, man.
Man, yeah. And I just
a lot happened since then. Yeah.
A lot happened. A lot of moves been made. So we had some victories. We took some hits. But we want to make sure that for future generations' sake that that it's reflected that we resisted. You know what I'm saying? That we resisted. That's imperative. I hope in the future someday we have some sort of they had Nazi Germany the Nuremberg hearings where they lay out the roll call, what happened, who was involved in what particular role. We want to make sure we're on the right side of history. We want to make sure we're on the right side of history. I think about saying different cases of political prisoners. You know what I'm saying? Say Kuo Dinga. You know what I'm saying? Jalil Mooney King. You know what I'm saying? Sundiata Coley,
Shell
Q McGee,
Russell Maroon Schultz.
You know what I'm saying? Yes.
Yeah.
And the fact
Veranza.
Yeah. And some people may look at it from a reactionary point of view, say, well, even when they get out, the time they was able to get on the streets, how limited of a time. But it reflects the people, you know what I'm saying, how we deal with those who fight for us, and how we deal with our people in general. So so this is political, like everything, you know what I'm saying, and we want to now on our file, or they say in the prison, your jacket, you know what I'm saying, how was it dealt with, you know what I'm saying, and even in prison they get this thing where they say like which cat or individual who they had tried, and you know what I'm saying, it's not that simple as who they can whoop. It's like, man, am I going to invest the time and just making a move on this one is easy. You know what I'm saying? It's going to be an easy win. It's going to be some tussling with it, and as we said, we be on the streets protesting. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes they come and say, man, y'all know, man, let's do overtime. We see y'all put some work in. Yeah, you gonna put some work in with us.
Right.
We want to flood them phone calls. We want those who, you know what I'm saying, that, you know what I'm saying, state capital, Missouri, you know what I'm saying, you know what I'm saying, to shake up this class peace. You know what I'm saying? Just it's just an easy discussion, you know what I'm saying? Because a lot of times our people, black people in particular, we treat as Rodney Dangerfields of all races. In other words, no respect. You know this, and also the not just with Uncle Sam. I mean, not just the usual suspect, Uncle Sam, but the Sambos, not just the Gringos, but the Negroes. I mean, even we want those phone calls. They say they say Governor Parsons of Governor Missouri, his his voicemail is full. Well, also if that's full, we make a mistake. You know what I'm saying? Call the different the different representatives. You know what I'm saying? It's saying in Missouri. Illinois. You know, they connect, they coordinate, similar comrade, you know what I'm saying, with us, you know what I'm saying, on the ground out in the community. You know what I'm saying? You may be in you in Atlanta, I'm in Chicago, you know what I'm saying? In this conversation, Pam Africa, she's in Philadelphia. We communicate. They communicate. They communicate. So you know what I'm saying? So let those phone people they say, well, why are you calling this councilman in New York? You know what I'm saying? Hey, send a word to them. You know what I'm saying? This impacts us as a people. This impacts us as a people. You know, we we can set trip on certain things about food or what have you. And say, okay, who got the best Philly steak sandwich, different places, or the best pizza is in Chicago or New York. When it comes to our people, did it ain't no set tripping.
No doubt, no doubt. Listen, it's man, it's like no matter how many times we go through this scenario, it feels like right now we have to take this shit so personal. We have to take it like they have your brother or they have your comrade, some rivals, a rival gang. You understand what I'm saying? They have your comrade, they have your OG or whatever, and they're telling you that we're gonna kill him at 6 o'clock.
That's fair.
You know what I'm saying? Like, yo, ain't nothing you can do. We're gonna make you suffer. We're gonna torture you. We telling you. We're gonna take his life. He has an expiration date. He gonna expire. Like when the clock hits 12, when the clock hits 6, we got this needle for his arm. You understand? And you can't do shit about it. We don't care about how tough you talking about you are. We don't care how many niggas got guns on the street. We don't care about who you slapped up, or what your name is, or where you come from, or what your grandmama name is, or where she stay at. None of that shit don't matter. Why? Because you're unorganized. And because you're unorganized, we can deal with you however we want to deal with you. You understand what I'm saying? And a few of y'all gonna stand up, but we're gonna make examples of everybody else. So, like he said, this brother from the neighborhood, you looking at him, and everybody else in the neighborhood, they scared. You like, look, we gotta fight. They're like, man, listen, man, we seen what they did to the last cat. We seen what they did to so-and-so. You know, they had Rochelle McGee for 67 years. They have Ronza Bowers 20 years past his time. I don't want none of that. They had Jalil for 50 years. I don't want none of that. You know what I'm saying? But it's fashionable to show up at a rally and a protest to take some goddamn pictures. It's fashionable to get on Facebook and talk that rah-rah. I want to ask you, and we got the young brother Isaac on deck with us today on the morning show, co-hosting. I want to ask you, like right now, because you mentioned 23 years ago, that's when we met, when you got out. You was unleashed 23 years ago in Chicago. You know, after you did, I believe, 9.5 years, if I'm not mistaken.
Nine total.
Yeah, 9 total. You know what I'm saying? Since you've been unleashed, what it look like? What's the lay of the land? You know what I'm saying? Is it, you know, are the L's outweighing the victories, or what we looking like right now? Just from a a strategic and tactical standpoint, just if you were to make an analysis, if you were to give a report card, where do we stand right now as an organization?
It's difficult to give a concrete analysis, being these are that we are presently we are in reactionary times. And that's one of the benefits of being in revolutionary times, which that you can able, and I'll just even distinguish those different dynamics. But in revolutionary times, you have to give more of a concrete analysis. You know what I'm saying? But the deal is, being in reactionary times, even your analysis, you know what I'm saying, it has a teeter, you know what I'm saying? So we like, we dealing with tug and pull, like, pros and cons. But more when it's like a community in general, when you have a community, when it's more stable, you're able to get more of a concrete analysis and say, okay, this is this. But reactionary times, which we presently engaged in, it's difficult. It's difficult, you know what I'm saying? Because again, it's tug and pull. We get, there's certain developments, there's certain we can look at such aspects as, you know what I'm saying, so a certain phenomena is the music industry, a certain phenomena is what's going on the street, or even certain phenomena is electoral politics. These are different detectors, or, you know what I'm saying, in regards to, where we at, you know what I'm saying. These are microcosms. In other words, like, you can look at how people view the music industry. How do they deal with electoral politics? You know what I'm saying? Like, in other words, I recall, like, even right now as we speak now, it's literally as we speak now, there are certain dynamics. Let's go with the music industry, for example. There are certain, I got some phone calls like within the last day or two, where people are saying they humble themselves. Like, damn, Cham, I remember debating with you. You know what I'm saying? I was saying this and that. Like, and like, people actually saying how they believe that if you work hard, that the music industry is based on if you being talented. And I was like, damn. You know what I'm saying? And I said, you really believe that? And this was a serious conversation, And I said, man, I can see how this system sells Santa Claus. So not only to, you know what I'm saying? I'm surprised they just leave it at children, that it's not still sold, you know what I'm saying? I mean, like, literally. And now those, like, okay, you have a face, a phenomenon that's even in the music industry, you know what I'm saying? Puffball cones in particular, and that, so a lot of people have a reactionary response. That's a reactionary response is that you have to you run a risk. You run a risk of without a political analysis. Without a political analysis, you run the risk of people just dismissing and say, okay, open the door for the next faces. You know what I'm saying? For the Nas X's or the Sexy Reds. You know what I'm saying? Because one thing is, when capitalism is phenomenal at, you say, okay, well, rename it. It's like in that Bamboozle movie at the end. Dude said,
Right.
I'm tired of all this jiving and cooning. They said, okay, no problem. Next. You know what I'm saying? Bring in the next one.
Right.
With a political analysis, people go past the subject. You're able to go past the subjectivity. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Like we say in the movement, we say though we have certain symbolisms, and we fortunate to have certain symbols, we go deeper than just the man or the woman with the plan, the politics of it. You know what I'm saying? What are we fighting for? And that's a political analysis, and be able to check our emotions as opposed to our emotions checking us. But a lot of times people get involved in struggle, become conscious when something happens. You know what I'm saying? In a subjective way, like, you know what I'm saying? Okay. But to be able to really to put the struggle to say, listen, up the ante with different terms, you know, so to be clear that, look past, like, even how we look at sexuality. A lot of times it's subjective. It's like, Kanye, the Kardashians got a new boyfriend, as opposed to putting the scene in political analysis. Like, no, these are part of conquering tactics. You know what I'm saying? You know, so who they pick, the psychological profiles, how they do it, and everything is political. You know what I'm saying? Even death. You know what I'm saying? Like you just pointed out, even this it's not just a sneaking kill. I mean, it's a sign of the times to tell you point blank. You know what I'm saying? I'm going at 6:00 p.m. You know what I'm saying? That's a statement. I mean. It's a different dynamic. You in school, somebody come and they snuck you or stole on you. Say, no, at 3:00, man. I'm holler at you.
After
That's a
school,
different
right?
feeling. So you
I'm gonna see you.
like, you know what I'm saying? In the whole school, like, man, you heard it 3:00, dude. You know what I'm saying? That person is already. It's like in some sense, it's a political statement has been made. You know what I'm saying? He's telling you what time when school is. You know what I'm saying? And
Right.
you know what I'm saying? whether you know, win, lose, or draw, that you have the audacity to make that statement. You know what I'm saying? And that you that it impacts you. So my everything is up before then. My grades are off. I can't concentrate on my math problem. I can't concentrate. So everything, you know what I'm saying, win, lose, or draw, that someone is in a position to tell you what time I'm gonna do this. You follow what I'm saying? So, but also, I don't want to seem as a pessimist either. You know what I'm saying? Also, that you know what I'm saying, that it's been moves. We look at our community, our people, and say, man, just you know what I'm saying, to be able to have certain conversations, some of the names, the aforementioned names that we mentioned, to be able to get back on the street, get back in the community, it's inspirational. You know what I'm saying? So it's tug and pull, and certain dynamics are necessary to move forward. You know, and I say dynamics, including that of reactionary forces. Like, you know, we talking about we can't romanticize revolutionary times, because a lot of times, you know, those are. You got to break those eggs to make the omelet. Also, you know what I'm saying. So those different, those elements are necessary. You have to go through different stages. You know what I'm saying. And you know, and it's heartbreaking. 'Cause a lot of times people, like I say, even the music industry, people, you know what I'm saying.
You froze up, comrade.
Uh,
You good? You good?
Okay, yes. So I'm trying to call him. Okay. We, you know, so we have to respect the process also, and believe me. Sometimes I'll be like, man, I wish we just ideal situations.
Right.
You know, we can have. I remember when I was held captive in Stateville, we called Deathville, and I was reading I Walk Without I forgot the title, but it was a book by Nelson Mandela, and I recall reading it, and I recall this look at the different struggles that was going on at the time, and though I disagree with the political stance of Nelson Mandela, but I respected and I appreciated it. It was talking about the different ideological struggles going on between the ANC, the Pan African Congress, the Black Conscious Movement. This was when they were in jail, and when they were locked up, and they were talking about the different ideological struggles. And it was a situation that happened upstairs on another gallery. And it was a reactionary. It was something trivial, you know what I'm saying? And it was at a time when the prison guards was it was coming down hard on the administration, coming down hard on us. And I remember just releasing. I came on the gallery. I said, man, I envy that we could have we was engaged in some political debates and dialogue. I said, y'all see what's going on? Y'all trying this misdemeanor nonsense, you know? So those times to be able to have that. And again, there are certain dynamics that are necessary to be able to get to those times. And revolutionary times there's a different sort of conversation, a different sort. You can see certain elements, like even some people that contribute to the music industry or political prisons, to go past the obvious, to be able to look at and say, well, wait a minute, who's pulling the strings with this here? To look at that, and even because I said it's reactionary. We look at stuff and just say, all we see is the face. I said, a young lady said to me, I said it's political, it's strategic, that even the face of the conscious and music industry. I mean, they go. This system goes so far as the skin complexion. You know what I'm saying? Puffy combs. You know what I'm saying? That's the right feature to hit them. I say it's gonna be certain. It's gonna be a generation of those who's embedded and emboldened with a disdain for black men. You know what I'm saying? This is the face of it. Young lady said to me, like, well, what about these black men? I said, hold on. I said, I tell you what. I won't classify you with sexy red. You know what I'm saying? I won't put that. You know what I'm saying? I won't put you. I won't be. Let it be the face of black women, and vice versa. You don't let that be. You know what I'm saying? We have to up the ante to distinguish males from men. You know what I'm saying? Females from women. You know what I'm saying? And it's easily categorized when you colonize. It's easily categorized when you colonize. The system just put you all together, you know what I'm saying? And if you ain't, and we had to struggle for a political analysis to say, no, you know what I'm saying? And you've seen different examples of this, you know, whether it be through Africa, whether it be through, you know what I'm saying, and North Korea, Vietnam. Kim Il-sung in North Korea, he made it clear to the U.S. He said, oh, no. South Korea may align with the Yankees. Right. That is not our position. And he had to combat when people say, "Oh no, we got to have unity. We all look alike." No. You'll say Ho Chi Minh, Gia made it clear. Oh no. That line is more than just that. That's not just a geographical line. The South Vietnam is a different dynamic, you know, right. And I recall the night. I literally recall the night, the day of George Floyd being murdered. I remember that, and I was we happened to be at the Hampton House, and our comrade Cool, when our rank and file membership, who's leadership in Minnesota for the Black Panther Party Cubs. And I remember going down there to Triple C's Children's Community Cubs programs up there. But that night, when it kicked off, when it happened, I remember her saying, "She said, Chairman, it's going to go down." The same day, this was due to a political analysis. You know what I'm saying? We knew that particular area. You know what I'm saying? And in fact, our position was that it had to be 5 blocks away. Different, it may be a different response.
Different
But
program. Right.
that area, that's what you have to be. You know what I'm saying? Politics is like real estate, timing, location, who, what. You know what I'm saying? And I recall her present. You know what I'm saying? We were unable to get word to our central committee in that short amount of time. But when it was a call to get up, we hit the road that night. Literally, I recalled it. I recalled it. She pressed, and that's due to a resume. It wasn't just this general assessment, blanket assessment of, you know what I'm saying, what's going on in Minnesota.
It wasn't reactionary. Right.
You know, exactly.
Right. No, and that's what this thing will do to you, and that's one of the beauties. And I'm say this, you know, at the risk of sounding insane. One of the beauties of capitalism is, like you said, they will categorize you. You know what I'm saying? You will you gonna get on the right side, or they'll put you on their side. So you got some choices. You know, folks be like, I ain't down with the movement. You're gonna be down with something, no matter what I don't give a damn what you think you down with. You know what I'm saying? You might think you thinking either you're gonna get on the right side of the barricades, or you're gonna not be on the right side of the barricades. But either way, they got a position for you. Like you said, there's no neutrals in this war. You know what I'm saying? We're talking about either you fighting, either you swinging, or you singing. You know what I'm saying? You got a choice. You're gonna be doing this right here, or you're gonna be with Charleston White. Let us know what you want to do. You know what I'm saying? Either way, you're gonna be in the right direction. Isaac, I know you've been sitting here patiently. Isaac's over there looking like he ready to play double dutch and hop in. So we'll let him ask questions and whatnot.
Thank you, Chairman, for coming on to the morning show. I really do appreciate it, and it's an honor to talk to you. I want to talk about, you bring up something that I think a lot of individuals pass over or brush over is reactionary. In the midst of all this, I pose 2 questions to you. What people would classify as reactionary, what we do, we classify as what Dr. King would classify as an outcry. It is an outcry of the masses explaining exactly how they feel. Your father, once said, theory is cool, but theory without action ain't shit. I think that speaks prevalent today. We are less than 9 hours, I believe, from watching another African brother, be euthanized like a fucking dog. What are we to do? Are we to sit back and watch and reconcile and move forward, or should there be a call to action to say, you know what, this is the last straw? We are seeing you now stage a war in Gaza, a war in Congo, a war in Sudan, a war in Haiti, a war against the people here, a continued war as this is an occupation. What shall be done? We live in a society where I think people are too, it's like it's so normal, like as Kalanji stated earlier in the show, taking a picture and going on live for 2 minutes saying you're in solidarity. But what is to be done realistically from this? We're watching another brother be euthanized like an animal. And we're just going to carry on and say, okay, well, come November, things might change, another black face in a high place might change all this. But us 3 on screen know exactly the truth to that there is no truth in that. So my question that I pose to you is like, what shall be done? What after this? Because, we can call, but the white supremacist that's in power has already said he's not going to give clemency. The woman who washes her collard greens in the bathtub is silent and will continue to remain silent because the master says she has to stay silent. So what is to be done? I know I've said that shit like 4 times. My apologies. So
Good. One second. I'm on. Tell my call right back. I'm on an interview. I know. To be on with the politic, that ups the ante, and that we don't get another thing that this system does. It forces you into absolutes. You know, I recall at the funeral services for Stanley Tookie Williams, co-founder of the Crips. I recall saying I may be paraphrasing myself. I said something to the fact that I grew up in a climate similar to that of Tookie Williams, and a lot of times the only options provided to us, in one way or another, is become a Boy Scout or a banger in the entire communities, a Boy Scout or a banger. And I said we want to struggle to. I said on our watch, that's one of the things. Like even with the legacy of the Black Panther Party, cause we fight, that their option to be there, and the ruling class, they a lot of times people, the ruling class, they provide these quote unquote options, and the art of America's definition of diplomacy is letting others have their way. The art of the definition of America, the definition of diplomacy for America is letting others have their way. It's so Machiavellian. It makes you think like you can go. The people in Chicago would say, we want more cameras, or somewhere else would say, in Iraq, we demand more Coca-Cola. And all the time, the U.S. imperialism has said it, where that you think that you got it, you fought, that was your desire. You have to be able to up the ante and acknowledge contradictions. You know what I'm saying? So we said, well, that's our only options. Like some people, their mindset is actually that. Well, do we wait till November 3rd? And it sets it gives you dates. It impacts you. We had a recent struggle recently in regards to the Black Panther Party Cubs free breakfast program. And I was looking at the mindset of some people, and some people couldn't, we were trying to get these different sites, and one site I was saying the ground is not politically fertile for it right now. I said, give us a minute. You know what I'm saying? We're gonna come back and sit. And I said, okay, now it's move. It's prime time. Let's make it happen. Let's make it happen right now, because there were certain things in place in the community. And some people's response was they couldn't go with it because they didn't see no funding with it. And I was like, wow, that's, you know what I'm saying? And at the Hampton House, we had a community refrigerator. A lot of people say, well, you can't do that because it's not zoned for that. You know what I'm saying? We've done it. And you know what I'm saying? And we've seen the needs of the people, and we said we moved in. The Hampton House, which next door there was 9 overdoses, you know what I'm saying? We cleaned all it up, you know what I'm saying? There was in the area that they later said it was a food desert. When the Black Panther Party implemented the first free breakfast program, you know what I'm saying? There was an obvious need of the people, and they studied, and they implemented. They didn't back and forth. Let's get the codes, let's get the registration, so on and so forth. They moved on it, and like when we take these different titles, Chairman Fred, Minister UEP News, Minister Doc Satchel, you have to be able to shake those conventional definitions, because the ruling class, so many cases, they tell us how to fight, when to fight, and again, it puts you, for you be reactionary. You responding on their own times, and for they're engineering it's a certain thing. I told someone, I said, that would surprise me if it's some sort of big National Geographic camera on our communities, and they talk about it. They say certain things like during tax time, during tax season, their breeding happens more. You know what I'm saying? Like they can lay out what during the funding of certain nonprofits, or they relate to this person. You know what I'm saying? And this like how they study animals. You know what I'm saying? To be revolutionary, to go against to be able to take it. And it's to see the beauty of it, and to be able, what I'm saying, to have a definition and of how you view time, how you view resistance, how you view death. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, and once you it's once you that taste of self-determination. We just convened in Chicago and Maywood. We united with the present day Rainbow Coalition. We had the Trail of Truth. The indigenous, the native people came through. I'm talking about they 25, 50 horses. I'm talking about they horses. They pull up in there. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of people say, Cham, why you didn't call me? Blah blah. We get the call the night before. The night before. Now, on one hand, you could be reactionary, but there's a previous relationship set up prior to that. So when that call came in, we able to seize the time. You know what I'm saying? We able, now you can get a little background, or as we say, a little background. With the Standard Rock, North Dakota, you know what I'm saying? There were certain forces who were not delegated to go down there because you had certain dynamics. There were certain forces who were not sensitive to this respective community. And we had certain forces that are, don't get me wrong, that are reactionary. In fact, Kalonji tell you at Chicago, I got a group of guys who my Plan B forces. Got a group of my Plan C forces, reactionary then, reactionary now. But they respect the structure of revolutionary organizations. You know what I'm saying?
They still reactionary. That's been like,
what? I don't get. But people, one time, this intellectual told me one time, he said, "Well, Chairman, why you know he's very intellectual." He said, "Why don't you talk to him?" And I laughed. I said, "Bless you." I said, "Bless you, all right." See, structure. When we talk about these different dynamics, U.S. imperialism has reactionary forces. They know Trump is reactionary. However, there's a system. There's a structure
where he fits in
for checks and balances. An individual called me one time. I never forget. He called me. He said, "Hey, Chairman, I watched one of these documentaries. I thought you said there were no snitches in Chicago." I said, "Excuse me." He said, "I thought you said there were no snitches in Chicago." I said, "I never said that. I told you we don't call them gang chiefs. I say there's a structure. The difference between a hustler, you know what I'm saying? So they had that structure, is able to distinguish and pull out the best dynamics of those. You know what I'm saying? Let's not romanticize the 60s. Those are revolutionary times where reactionaries existed. But there was a structure of checks and balances. You know what I'm saying? See, that's how we come with this idealism. Even in Alcoholics Anonymous, they say a person is still an alcoholic. You know what I'm saying? They know that certain things can trigger certain dynamics. You know what I'm saying? So the deal is, with revolutionary times, it's a climate where certain things are not cool. So you know what I'm saying? It's not reinforced. If you okay, let's say in the revolutionary time period, you can look at some of the video footage. You can look at let's look at the contradiction of the amount of resources that these entertainers have. It wouldn't even jive with the people, the community during revolutionary times. You know what I'm saying? Comedian James Richard Pryor talked about when he met Chairman Fred on New Year's Eve. He say, man, when Chairman Fred approached him, he said, man, he came. He said, after the conversation with Chairman Fred, he said about 4 members of the Black Panther Party. He took him out to dinner. He donated money to the Black Panther Party free breakfast program, $1,000. You know what I'm saying? That night, Nipsey Russell. Nipsey Russell. He has this skit. He did a skit about my mother comrade. He say he kind of embellished the story. She say, man, this lady coming there. The time my mother comrade, she's on the finance committee, Lieutenant of Finance, Barbara Sankey, definitely under leadership of Chairman Fred Hampton. But Nipsey Russell says, here she comes, this lady comes in, she's pregnant. That's true at the time. But he said she got these banded little bullets across her chest. She coming there talking about some money for the Black Panther Party. He said, I ain't giving nobody no money for no guns. He said, but I came through next morning and put the envelope under the door for the free breakfast program. It was a climate. It was a revolutionary climate. You know, so you still, let's be clear, you had opportunistic forces, you had reactionary forces, but a community is a structure, like a family reunion. Everybody gonna still have who is that crazy Uncle Charles, you know what I'm saying? However, your community is destabilized. Uncle Charles is up there speaking as leadership. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And but you have the community in a certain time period when Big Mama and Papa Daddy, when they there, and that family unit is in structure in place, you know what I'm saying? Come and say, man, Who said who did that? Who made the potato salad? Ain't such and such. Ain't such and such. She made it's like even everybody knows. It's acknowledged, and it's not no hard feelings against ain't Lisa. You know what I'm saying? But it's acknowledged during the revolutionary period. To be able to have that distinguishment, say, man, okay, who is that? You know what I'm saying? This is you can't, they come up and quote some entertainers, our leadership. I mean, it's an interview with Malcolm X. They say, Mr. Malcolm X, Jackie Robinson disagrees with your position about violence. Malcolm X said, whoa, wait a minute. We don't be quoting no Bob Hope, no Marilyn Monroe for your spokespersons.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I look forward to the day that we can look back in retrospect. Wait, listen, let me tell you a story. The voter died. They had the voter die. Why do you think Puffy didn't come to Chicago? Because of the weather? When they had that voter die, they had planned the voter die campaign. This was former U.S. President Barack Obama was running for Senate. He was running for, he wasn't even the president yet. He was running for Senate. Mm-hmm. When they was talking about coming to Chicago, they had the whole plan laid out. You know, we tell them, say, man, no, they did this shit, man. It's gonna be some issues addressed. You know what I'm saying? So I remember getting a phone call from New York. I remember this literally. When Russell Simmons went up in Columbia, we went up on the stage. They had planned to get their usual suspects and talk to different people. When he went up on that stage, and we came around with the posters, it was different forces. It was those same reactionary forces that was there. And Palace, there was other people there. We had a big poster of Daryl Hamilton, who was shot 15 or 16 times on 72nd and Dorchester. 2000.
Anti-terrorism bill, right?
December. Come on with it. The African Anti-Terrorism Bill. We took that poster right there. December 2nd, 2015. Russell Simmons changed his whole speech right there. He said, man, that's right. The same week Jan J was killed, there was a certain amount of people killed by the police. And people was calling me that day saying, man, what's going on in Chicago? You know, so we upped the ante. Right. People got upset with us because when Barack Obama came on the stage, we said, no, what's your position? They said, come on, Chairman, he's going to be the first black senator. Our position, well, we don't care, he's going to be the first black Martian. What's their position about what's going on with this here? Right. We upped the ante. And I want to shout out to Crooked Eye from LA. Crooked Eye, as soon as he seen the poster, he said, man, we with y'all. And he said, we with this. LA, we with this. I recall that. So my point is, to acknowledge that dynamic and utilize it, and to politically procure the dynamics, but again, have a structure. Not just saying people have me confused or have us confused that we coming in to say no, the rid of all contradictions. Say no, let's acknowledge contradictions. Let's be able to say how can we be able to utilize them. You know what I'm saying? When I say Chairman Fred, it's not no ego tripping. It's a structure. Our organization has been infiltrated. It's gonna be infiltrated. That's a reality. That's a real. A lot of people don't talk about that. I remember when the movie Judas and the Black Messiah, a lot of people was like, "Oh, don't show William O'Neill." Well, they want this romanticism with this leather jackets and berets, and we all love each other. No, Minister U.E.P. News said contradictions are the ruling principle of the universe. That's right. Contradictions are the ruling principle of the universe. So we was able to trace down where does contradiction come from. Where does you know what I'm saying? So to be able to acknowledge that in the food, it's a certain amount of bacteria. Bacteria is good. You know what I'm saying? Certain things. So we acknowledge that. Again, we need these forces. But again, we have to struggle for, you know what I'm saying, to be a respect of that we're not just ambulance chasing. You have someone said to me, I was talking to a sister the other day, and I was saying, you know, one thing about 50 Cent, he acknowledges, you know what I'm saying, where he's at, you know, his aspirations. He acknowledges it. Right. She said, what do you mean? I said, I remember some years back, when I first come home, when I first was unleashed, was our deputy defense. I mean, every time I would leave, this is at the time when there was this vying who's gonna be the next Tupac. You know, everybody, who is it, Ja Rule? You know, there was a big discussion. And there's one force amongst us. He would take the political education class, and he would always make like 50 Cent was Tupac.
I remember that.
You remember that?
Yeah.
I said,
the poet.
Huh?
He's a poet.
No. I don't make a person. The brother, he want to point. You think back, man, he was locked up with me for a while too.
Okay, because somebody else, because I remember Mother Combat.
You may be, not to say that you incorrect. Because okay, this is the most. this is the most articulate. This one push the line harder. So you may be correct also.
Okay.
You know what? I'll go with that too. Because this is
from
for
poetry. From poetry.
Okay. But this for us. I'm gonna shout him out. Push. There you go. AK. I hate to say different. I don't look like it's personal subjective, but the deal. And I remember because again, a lot of times he articulated with a lot of people. You look back, it sounds crazy now. It sounds crazy now.
Right.
But at that time period, you know what I'm saying? It was if
you wasn't clear. Yeah.
A lot of people were unable to politically sum up who Tupac was. To this day, a lot of people can't sum up who Pac was. They have those. They can't sum them up. They can't sum it up. So that they'll make up certain things. So this one force. I said, man. I said, listen. You can't keep pushing that line, man. I said everyone with tattoos in the tank top T-shirt is not Pac. It's a different dynamic. And so he waits. Every time I leave out of town, I come back and I see he was sort of processed down. I said, well, where is this coming from? And 50 Cent himself is the interview. I said, bingo. Came across the interview himself. He said it. He said, Pac. He said, asked 50 Cent something. He said, Pac cares about the children. He said, I don't care about no damn children. Nobody children. I said, bingo. You know what I'm saying? I say bingo. And it's not to knock him, it's to acknowledge that.
Right.
Acknowledge that.
Yeah.
And you know what I'm saying? And see, a lot of people have a disdain for structure. You know what I'm saying? Because their first concept of structure comes through the ruling class or some other dynamic. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. But structure identifies, you know what I'm saying? I tell you, I have very few disappointments. You come in, when I go to different cities and stuff, that's where I'm at. Okay, what you know what I'm saying? Well, man, this the history of where I'm at, so on and so forth. You acknowledge and you move accordingly. You know what I'm saying? I spoke, we showed the movie Judas and Black Messiah 2 nights ago, right around the corner from Ground Zero in Chicago. And these children were there, 10 to 12 years old. The lady was amazed. She said, how did you do that? I was able to tell her which children had a mother and father in the house, which one's father was there, which child, you know what I'm saying, who's damaged. She said, you just met them. I said, well, Richard Pryor says he's a peopleologist. I'm a peopleologist. Right. I study it and I move accordingly. You know what I'm saying?
You cannot be effective as an organizer or as a freedom fighter if you can't read the people. Yeah. It's like, honestly, and to your point on that, up until about 5-10 years ago, you could tell about 10 years ago, you could tell exactly what organization the cat was coming up out of. You know what I'm saying? Because you knew the line, you knew the rhetoric. Now it's so mumble jumble. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. They don't tell it where cat come from. But back in the day, you knew that, okay, this cat came from this organization, this one's from that one. 3 minutes or less. You know exactly what, because they rap is in the cadence.
We have to tweak out. But the politics gives us the ability to say what they align. Even if they don't themselves, as you said earlier, they themselves don't know it. The state would go say, I remember when I was in prison, the Stateville, this young brother came in. I was seeing him going different galleries, so on and so forth. And I told him, I said, young man, this is the wrong place we're looking for an identity.
Right.
They would give you one. And sure enough, they gave him one.
Yeah.
As you said earlier, because there during certain periods you can straddle the fence. You say, well, I'm not really clear. There's certain stages of the game, they will give you one. And that not having a political line is a political line.
Absolutely. Listen, Chair, we got to get ready to bounce. We definitely got to get you back on here.
Yeah.
I lied and said 5-10 minutes, but we ain't never talked 5-10 minutes.
Man, real
even
talk,
we call for 5-10 minutes.
Well, I detest that the reason the reason that we even have this conversation. But I love the fact that we are having this conversation. I love the fact that and these are dynamics, and we want to make sure we tie this in. You know what I'm saying, with our conversations today. You know what I'm saying, and we're gonna take some hits. We're gonna keep on swinging. You know what I'm saying. Marcellus Williams, Khalifa. We say, man, free man, Khalifa, man, free them all.
Hey man, we got to get a version of your show on Black Power Media, man. You know what I'm saying? Folks is need to make that happen. We got your brother, the notorious Griff over here. He come on Wednesdays at noon and whatnot. So you know what I'm saying?
Right on.
You know what I'm saying? You ain't know how Griff do. You know what I'm saying?
No doubt about it. No doubt about it. I just talked to him today. past August 30th, Mr. Conversation Pam Africa was here. We just talked to Professor Griff. Yes, indeed. Love and respect to him.
No
Yes.
doubt.
And, man, love and respect y'all, man. I look forward to touching back. So I'm sure we gonna keep on pushing the line past 559, but we're gonna be rapping.
We ain't got no choice.
No choice.
Yeah, we ain't got no choice. That's why we're here. Love you, brother, man. Stay up.
Let me say something real quick too. Y'all check out flyer for yesterday Free 'em All. We also pushing for the line to save Free Imam Khalifa, but also we got for this brother named Goose, who was a legend in the prisons, in the concentration camp in Chicago. Earl Good. There's a GoFundMe to bring his body back to Chicago, and then that deadline is tomorrow. That's on our flyer on our page. Earl Good, aka Mongoose. Yeah.
Okay. So what we'll do is we'll put this in the body of the chat. Man, Isaac has committed to we're gonna make some clips out of this. We're gonna separate the interviews and whatnot. So folk, when we run it back later on, it'll have all the information in it. Appreciate you coming through, last minute, comrade. Good love to Mama Kua. You know what I'm saying? Tell her free them all, and looking forward to seeing y'all soon.
No doubt, comrade. Y'all free them all.
Free them all. Yes, sir. Yes. We've had an extension of the Rise Up morning show this morning, Black Power Media. We got Isaac working overtime. Isaac over there in Vegas acting like he working, but he ain't doing too much. But we appreciate you all checking us out. We got a heavy day ahead of us. We did a 3-hour joint today, Isaac. We was trying to decide if we was going to do anything at all.
Exactly.
Pissed off. I think both of us was mad. We both had bad attitudes this morning.
It's just the vibe of the day, man. Like I have to go through my day today walking my little cousin in the next 15 minutes to school, you know, and the rest of my day, you know, the fact that an African brother is going to be euthanized like an animal.
Yeah. So I'm gonna say this though. I'm gonna tell you this, because even with the word euthanize, because I'm gonna correct myself, I think that euthanize is a nice term because it implies that, you know, for the safety and whatnot of self and others, that you know, this animal has to be laid down because it's rabid. This man is being assassinated. You know, this is straight genocide. This is straight murder. You know what I'm saying? Yes, we don't even want to give it. I think euthanize might be a term too good form, even though that's the term that they use, what Hitler used to justify the murder of those folks that they euthanize, excuse me, murdered out in Germany, Nazi Germany. Yeah, man. But
and that was from American hegemony. Those ideas and constructs was because in Christopher Columbus's book, from one paragraph to the other, in his notes, talks about these people are nice, these people are joyous, all of this, and then all it'll take is 50 of my men to slaughter them in the next fucking sentence. So again, this is the tyrannical, the diabolical, the demonic ideas, you know, constructs that is white hegemony. And you know, I'm glad that you clarified that. So
no doubt, man. That's awfully white of them. Anyway, you checking out Rise Up morning show. Kalanja, Isaac, stay tuned to tomorrow's show. You know, prayers and salutes and whatever else you can do for Imam Khalifa Marcellus Williams. We wish love and joy and hope to his family, and you know, we pray that if there's some type of intervention, that it can go down and this man's life can be spared. If not, 6 p.m. Central, he's scheduled to be executed 7 p.m. Eastern here. You know, we're gonna continue to fight. Rise Up morning show. Every day is a good day for revolution on Black Power Media. Be safe out there. We'll talk to y'all soon.
Sometimes the riot is a quiet one, where the battle is to love yourself and function in society, where voices of reason are muted by anxiety, like gaining notoriety is selling your soul. So we tend to go no deeper than the shallow water level, trying to keep us overhead in the face of all the slurs and the stares, mentally frozen, paralyzed by fear of failure and success. So we lock, stock, barrel. Running while it's crumbling, all these towers and they're babbling. But the baby's in the bath, and a stash under the bed. On my head, spinning from the circles and the puppets and the strings that they pulled and